Warriors handled the Kings in a game, Whitey, that, well, wasn't always pretty.
No.
With the Kings resting De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis and Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk, doing the Warriors a favor or making the statement that they want a piece of the defending champions. One of the many things we're going to get into between now and 1 o'clock as we welcome you in here. 888-957-9570. Whitey, let's just dive right in. The Warriors handled business, although at times it felt a little bit dicey in Golden One Center last night.
Yeah, I know a lot of fans there, JD. As you well know, you were there. A lot of fans, especially Kings fans, hoping for a dog fight. What they got was basically a pillow fight, even though it did get a little interesting, more interesting for the Warriors than they expected. It's amazing how everybody around here, just about everybody, from media to the players to people that Craig ran into at the gas station this morning. Seriously, everybody's like, okay, here we go. Kings and Warriors, and it certainly looks like we're on that path. Let me make sure I have this right, JD, because I know you broke down all the possibilities and sent that out to the media. So if the Clippers beat the shorthanded Blazers tonight, and the Blazers, we know they don't want to win, and then the Warriors beat those same Blazers tomorrow, and then the Clippers beat the Suns tomorrow, and the Suns expect to rest everybody, then we will have the Suns, Clippers, and then we will have, in fact, the Kings against the Warriors. That's where it looks like it's headed.
That is the simplest and I would say statistically most likely scenario. Warriors win in Portland. Clippers beat Portland today down in Southern California, like you said, and then win against Phoenix in the Valley tomorrow. That would put the Clippers at 5, the Warriors at 6. Now, if the Clippers do lose either one of those two games and the Warriors win tomorrow, then it would flip from the Warriors' standpoint. The Warriors would be 5th. It wouldn't necessarily make the Clippers 6, however. I know, and I was the first one, I think, that put it out there, hey, there could be this scenario where the Clippers can tank the game or at least attempt to tank the game in Phoenix to avoid playing the Suns in the first round of the playoffs. But now because the Pelicans are also in this mix, the Pelicans could knock the Clippers down to 7 if they do that. So the Clippers can't totally play with it. That would make them a play-in team versus a team that qualifies for the tournament. The Clippers should know what it's like to be a play-in team last year as they were, and they got beat by Minnesota and the Pelicans. They had their stolen, as the Warriors did 2 years ago, by the Lakers and the Grizzlies. So that's a dangerous path if the Clippers want to get into a manipulation sensation type scenario, Whitey, here with an ode to the great Tim Roy off the top.
Before we get any further, I know we're not here to talk about the Dallas Mavericks, but what they did last night was gutless. It was pathetic. I was really hoping they would get into the play-in just so I could see them lose a play-in, but for them to just basically say, yeah, we're not interested, and then leave. Mark Cuban leaving the coach Jason Kidd to try to explain. Oh well, it seems like a step back, but big picture, blah blah blah. It was embarrassing what they did last night. Shame on them, and the league definitely needs to fine Mark Cuban for basically just blatantly tanking a game that actually did matter.
Gutless,
yes,
absolutely gutless, but it also, I think, big picture goes to show. And I think our buddy Steining had tweeted this out, that the play-in tournament really has not incentivized as much as it should. And that's something that I've harped on all year. Now, you could say, hey, there's all these protections, kind of like the situation tomorrow involving the Warriors, where the Clippers can't try to manipulate, because if they do, they could wind up being in the play. Like, you could say, hey, that's making it where every team wants to win down the stretch, and you can't try and manipulate it. To me, to have a team basically say they want to be 11th as opposed to 10th, when the thought process from the league was everybody's going to want to be a 10th, right? If they're close to it, I think it is. And of course it's the Mavs that do it, with Mark Cuban kind of putting a middle finger to the league.
Because he didn't get his protest. He didn't win his protest. Yeah.
Saying this isn't worth our time. Gutless stuff.
Yeah, you're probably right, and Steiny is right also. But I don't blame this on the league for trying to trump up the play-in situation. This is clearly on the Mavericks. On some level, you still have a chance. You have a chance to get into the play-in, therefore a chance at the playoffs. Therefore, look what you did last year. And for them to just decide, what's really funny about that last night is, as you probably know, I believe it was Slovenian night. So they have Luka play the first quarter, then they send him back out on the floor in the second quarter so they can take him out so that the fans can give him an ovation like, oh, thanks for everything, Luka. The fans, though, when Luka comes out second quarter, they have no idea that he's not going back in, so they don't give it an ovation because they had no idea what the Mavericks were doing.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think we got to stop the conversation right there because, and I mentioned this, I know our good friend Daryl the Guru Johnson, who was at the game last night, got to talk to Goo a little bit, and I know he was high on Dallas getting in with the star power of Luka and Kyrie. He wanted them to get in despite how terrible. I told him about 2 weeks ago, I don't even watch Dallas anymore because of just the way that they play. I hate watching them. They play like they don't even care. They don't defend at all. And so, I think we've probably already spent a little too much time off the top talking about them. But to your point about I stopped watching them 2 weeks ago. They were going to have to make the top 8 for me to watch them again. And they didn't. And so good riddance, and we'll see what happens. I think Kyrie is about as bad as it gets as far as everything that's wrong with the league right now with all the different ways he finds to not play, in certain situations. But yet he still is going to command close to, if not a max contract. And, the team that he goes to is probably going to be worse for it in the long term, as has every team that he's been on since the Cleveland Cavaliers. Going back to, and I've said this, I'll just say it again to kind of tie off the conversation as far as Kyrie goes. I don't think Kyrie's cared about basketball since he made the shot at Oracle in Game 7 of the 2016 Finals.
Well, let me just bring it back to the Warriors, JD, because you go back to the trade deadline, and a lot of people, oh my goodness, look what the Mavs did. Ooh, Luka and Kyrie, and then, the Warriors traded Wiseman for a guy who's hurt. This is terrible. Well, which of those trades has paid more dividends for the team that made it? And I know, and you've made the point expertly, correctly, as many listeners to this show have, that we can't judge a trade right now. But I'm telling you, as of right now and this year, the Warriors are a much, much better team, and they're in much better position right now with Gary Payton than they would have been if they still had James Wiseman.
Yeah, and again, we'll see. I can't argue with that at this point. I do think we have to see how much Payton plays in the playoffs and how far the Warriors go and what happens the next couple of years. I do think among the many takeaways from last night, and there really aren't many as the Warriors handled business, but at times it just looked like they were pained to even be having to play the game.
24 turnovers, even for them, it was really bad.
Yeah, and I thought, Mike Brown, the head coach of the Kings, made it a zero upside game for the Warriors. Hey, it's a game you have to win. It's a game where if you don't win, it's an all-time embarrassment, and your season is basically crushed.
And if you do win, it's price of admission, as you would say. That was price of admission.
If you do win, it's completely meaningless. Even if you play us a week later, it was a mind bleep, zero upside kind of a game. And I don't think he wanted the Warriors to be able to go into Sacramento last night and be able to see or glean anything about a potential first-round matchup. If anything, he knew the Warriors were going to have to play all their guys and play them a lot. If anything, I think he thought, and he referenced this a little bit post-game, that, hey, the Warriors had to show them a little bit of how they want to try to play as they're currently constituted as well. So I do think, let the gamesmanship begin, but I think they went for the mind bleep last night, and they went for the zero upside game, and really – any combination last night, you do have to give the Warriors starters credit aside from the turnovers, because the Warriors starters were good last night. They got off to the 32-16 start. Clay and Steph played well. Again, aside from the turnovers, Draymond played well aside from the turnovers. Dante DiVincenzo has been maybe the Warriors' best or most consistent player over the last couple of weeks. And then what can you say about Kevon Looney, with all of the early rebounds and offensive rebounds and just the stabilizing.
And 7 assists. And pardon me for interrupting, but no one ever mentions the assist numbers that Looney's putting up this year as well.
Yeah, so last night was, hat tip to the starters plus GP2. But I do think Steve Kerr got caught a little bit in, hey, this is a game where the Kings are playing their bench guys, so I'm going to try to play my bench guys a little bit. Moses Moody, who I think had earned the opportunity to play, Jonathan Kuminga, who's played up and down. Any combination last night, and I do think this is a little concerning, not a big concern, but a little concerning. Basically, the Warriors had 6 trustable players last night. Jordan Poole was awful.
Right.
And I know he got to the free throw line in the second half, and the Warriors needed those points. Kuminga scored, but did not play well in the first half. I did think he had a better shift in the second half than he did in the first. But the Poole, Moody, Kuminga, Looney with DiVincenzo lineup, I mean, it damn near single-handedly gave the Kings life to win the game based on the way that they played together collectively. I think it was a minus 15 in that stretch. And so, Kerr went completely away from Moody in the second half. Kuminga got a little bit of a shorter shift. But it was basically the starters with DiVincenzo and Gary Payton II, and any other combination of players on the floor last night were awful for the Warriors, which is not nothing. I know it's playoffs are different and all of that, but I think it did show a little bit of how fragile this thing still is for the Warriors as they try to ramp up here toward the playoffs, which begin a week from today.
Jordan Poole, we know he's up, he's down. He's had a sensational week. To a degree, has saved their week. So anytime he falls off, and you're right, he was 0 for 10 last night, it's something to keep an eye on. And to me, it's especially something to keep an eye on because they played a team whose coach is very familiar with Jordan Poole. I think Jordan Poole is going to see some things defensively in terms of direct on-ball pressure that maybe he's not used to seeing, especially given that the Warriors have seen opportunities for him, like against Oklahoma City, where they were so focused on Steph that when the two of them were on the floor at the same time, Jordan Poole had opportunities to shine. I don't know that Sacramento's going to give him those opportunities. So, again, just something to keep an eye on. But 0 for 10 for him is like, against Sacramento, we'll see if that translates to the next round. To your point about DiVincenzo and Gary Payton II, when the two of them are on the floor together, there's a grittiness, defensive toughness that this team has that they've been lacking all year long. DiVincenzo's given them some of that, but the two of them on the floor at the same time, they give the team a dimension that they've been sorely lacking this year.
And there is, I think, enough offense that works with the other players on the floor with that pairing to where you can play them together, whether it's DiVincenzo's three-point shot, which has been spectacular, his ability to make the right play and move the ball. That is a combination that I think the Warriors are going to have to go to. And again, we don't know what the matchups are going to be, but it's most likely Sacramento for the Warriors or Phoenix. And then it gets into a number of different combinations. If the Warriors somehow lose tomorrow, I mean, you don't even want to think about the Warriors potentially losing tomorrow.
I know.
But the one thing we know is if they win tomorrow, it's either Sacramento, or if the Clippers lose one, it's Phoenix. Regardless, the Warriors are going to have to be really good to win either one of those series. Andrew Wiggins now set to return. He's not going to play tomorrow. The Warriors ruling him out for the final 2 games, including the game last night. How much of an impact does Andrew Wiggins' return have? And where does it kick other players down the line in the rotation? I think the biggest question for Steve Kerr and the Warriors, assuming, and again, you don't want to assume, but assuming the Warriors get in at 5 or 6, they win tomorrow and they get in to where they're playing a playoff series for sure. I think the biggest question for the Warriors over the next week will be, how does Steve Kerr reacclimate Wiggins, but also map out a playoff rotation that maximizes the starters with Wiggins, if you want to consider him a starter, and then and I'll say Looney as a starter in that vein as well, especially if they play Sacramento. Looney will have to start to go up against Domantas Sabonis. But DiVincenzo and Poole and Payton specifically, I do think, not that Kuminga's not going to play, but I do think he is kind of an extra. He's the 9. He's the wild card. I think the Poole, Payton, DiVincenzo, like those guys are playing. Wiggins is playing. How does Steve Kerr maximize that 8-man group to the best of his abilities to give the Warriors the best chance to win in any series? Little bit of sprinkle of Kuminga after that, and I think that's how the Warriors have to do it. But how do they balance it to get the most out of that group? Because when DiVincenzo's had to play less, he hasn't quite been as effective. When Kuminga has had to play less, he hasn't quite been as effective. And you kind of don't know really what you're going to get from Andrew Wiggins. Do the Warriors start him or bring him off the bench? I think all of those things are questions here that the Warriors are going to have to answer regardless of who they play in a first-round matchup.
Yeah, that's what makes it so difficult for Steve Kerr to do all those calculations when everything's so fluid in terms of Wiggins. What is he now? How quickly can he be close to what he was? Is that reasonable for this year? To me, I'm not even thinking about getting him back in the starting lineup because DiVincenzo has played so well. I mean, if Wiggins is back and he has a game or two where you're seeing him as, wow, okay, that's Andrew, then I may have to rethink it. But right now, I'm not even thinking about that. And I was thinking about this. The Warriors' first game of the year when they played the Lakers, I remember they impressed with their depth. They had an easy win. And I remember thinking, man, this team is deep. And then, 2 weeks later, it's like, well, I guess they weren't. But right now, especially when you have Wiggins coming back, and to your point, you're trying to figure out where to fit him in. They don't have size, but this team right now, roster-wise, they look like for a team getting ready for the postseason, they do have a really good amount of depth going forward.
888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. It's John Dickinson, Whitey Gleason. It's Warriors this week until 1 o'clock here on 95.7 The Game. As the Warriors and the Blazers go tomorrow, that's an afternoon game on the Easter Sunday, as the league is full of afternoon games, not only tomorrow, but there are 3 afternoon games today. One of them meaningless, Denver and Utah. Denver has secured the 1 seed in the West. Utah has been eliminated. Minnesota is in San Antonio this afternoon, right as we get off the air. That's a big game. Minnesota can actually still catch the Pelicans for the 8 spot because those 2 teams play tomorrow, Minnesota and the Pelicans, in Minneapolis. So those teams can still tie, and Minnesota can take their spot as well. And then you have the Clipper game against Portland, which is coming up at 1 o'clock, and all eyes for the Warriors are going to be on that one. Again, a game the Clippers should win, but if there's one thing we know about the Clippers, Whitey, over the years, and we just saw this going back this past weekend, where the Clippers in those afternoon games down in L.A. at home tend to lose to teams you would never expect them to lose to. And so they've done it really throughout the last 4 or 5 years. And so they're playing Portland down there at 1 o'clock. And I'm not saying they would be intentionally looking to lose that game, but they have shown that it's on the table. They may just lose that game because they aren't good enough or taking the game seriously enough. Yeah. So there is some stuff to keep an eye on today.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. I earlier had said the Clippers play tonight, so thank you for that clarification. One more note on the LA teams, and I know we're here to talk about the Warriors, but this made me sick. Not as sick as the Mavs made me, but LeBron talking about, hey, and he says, I was talking to AD, and I said, hey, we're going to have a winning record. Isn't that cool? Come on. They're going to be, looks like they'll be in the play-in at 42-39 right now. And for all the problems they've been through, you're LeBron stinging James. You're going to tell me that you guys are like, yay, we have a winning record. I'm not buying it. The Lakers make me sick as well. They screwed around with so much of the season that they deserve to be stuck in the play-in situation.
They do deserve to be stuck in the play-in situation. I don't want to give them credit.
No, you're right. They're a much better team. I know that.
They're just a different team. Like I don't want to give them credit, but I do feel like if they had this team that they have now, I think they would have been a top 6 team.
Right.
And they still messed around, and there was a game in Houston a couple weeks ago where they rested guys and then got beat. And that's one that I think they wish they had back now.
Yep.
I know LeBron was complaining about the schedule loss when they had to come back at the end of their road trip and play the Clippers, which I think was a fair point. But at the same time, you've had plenty of other games earlier in the year that you could have won. I think as bad as it looked for the Lakers before they made all the trade, the Lakers were done before the trade deadline. They were done.
Yeah, they were a joke. I agree with that.
They were going to be so bad that Dallas wouldn't have been able to punt on their last game because the Lakers probably would have been beneath them and pushed them up a spot. And so that's how bad the Lakers were. So, again, I want to stop short of giving them credit, Whitey, but I do think the fact that they did at least revamp their team and get rid of Westbrook and bring in Vanderbilt and bring in Beasley and others, getting D'Angelo Russell back, I do think helped them. They I think, well, it's not the perfect situation, and they still have to win their play-in game unless something crazy happens with the Clippers losing or the Warriors losing and the like. But I think they probably feel like they've got action against Memphis in a first-round series, and then we'll see. Wouldn't it be something if the Warriors wound up playing Sacramento as the 6-3, and the Lakers wound up playing Memphis as the 7-2, and the 6 and the 7 both win? The Warriors in that scenario could host the second round with home court advantage against the Lakers. Although the Warriors did struggle with that new look Lakers team, lost to them 3 times, once without Steph, and the 2 games with Steph down in Southern California.
Yeah, you're right. AR-15 is he's been, especially when they let him run the offense, he's been great. They are a much better team, and I will give them. I will give you this: the win over Phoenix made the Lakers just the 6th team in history to start 2-10 or worse and finish with a winning record. So, yeah, I just think that's a lot of that was their fault. Is the thing.
But their team, I don't think, and again, I don't want to beat the dead horse with this, Whitey, but the team they had at the beginning of the year,
it was a joke. They were a joke.
Absolutely freaking stunk.
Yeah,
that team had no action.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I mean, that team was Portland. That team was Dallas. The way Dallas, I think worse than both of those teams. So. Again, it is a little bit of a different team. I do think they command a little bit of respect. And I know it's interesting. The Warriors did struggle with the new look Lakers. They played the new look Lakers 3 times after the trade deadline. They played the old Lakers on opening night and blew them out and handled them. They played the new Lakers 3 times. And again,
it wasn't pretty.
A couple of those without Steph before he came back. The final one with Steph, but the Lakers really did have they caused some problems for the Warriors in those
size.
3 matchups defensively.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They got things going downhill. It wasn't pretty. Yeah, I just it makes me sick to hear LeBron. We're over 500. Good for us. Anyway, we'll see what they got left in the tank.
Again, to bring it back full circle, that's exactly what LeBron doing that. That's exactly the point of this, the play-in tournament. That's why you've got these teams lowering the bar for themselves to where now they're just happy to get in. Teams that, the Lakers, I think, should have been a top 4 seed. Again, they didn't have this team, but with this team they currently have, they should have been a top 4 seed. But they aren't because they weren't very good, and at times they didn't care. But that really, in the big picture now, Whitey, with 1 game to go, that's been the story of this season, has been the underachievement of, I think, the Suns to a certain extent, although they had a lot of injuries, the Clippers, the Warriors, and the Lakers. I mean, that is one of the headlines of this season. It's why you've got a team like Sacramento who went all in and wound up 3rd in the West. Memphis was going all in at the beginning. They wind up 2nd before they had some issues. Denver got their 2nd and 3rd best players back and got number 1. But the reason that all of this is so mucked up with 1 day to go is because, and again, I do want to say injuries are part of it, but the Warriors, Lakers, Clippers, and Suns, before they got Durant, all underachieved.
Mm-hmm. By the way, did you know, just speaking of how weird this year was, this is the first year since Texas had 3 teams, the Mavericks and Spurs and Rockets. This will be the first year, according to Mark Stein, that all 3 of them will miss the postseason. That had never happened before.
Well, good riddance. I mean, thank you and good night. On to Cincinnati.
Yeah. I'm not
and one thought here. No, and look, they're in a dangerous spot because as much as Kyrie is a dog in a bad way, they need him. They need him, and they need to build a team around him and Luka now with some other players that can defend. They gotta figure out how, after they pay Kyrie to stay, to actually make him, play.
Well, they're already
half the time.
JD, they're in a terrible situation because there are already rumblings out of Dallas that they're trying to make sure that a year from now, Luka's not asking for a trade. And anytime that becomes your organizational priority, we got to keep so-and-so happy. You got no chance. Good luck with that. But that's where they are. Oh, how do we keep Luka happy? Oh.
All right. He's Whitey Gleason. I'm John Dickinson. It's Warriors This Week, 888-957-9570. Comcast Business text line is open. What are your biggest concerns for the Warriors as they head toward the postseason? Still a shot to be in the play-in tournament, but not unless the Warriors lose. Are you worried about the game in Portland tomorrow at all? The Blazers are not playing anybody. Are you worried about the Clippers potentially trying to tank a game tomorrow in Phoenix, although Phoenix is going to be resting all of their big-time players as well? And who do you want to see? Do you want to see Sacramento? Is there anybody out there that wants to see Phoenix? I know I did have a couple of callers on Warriors wrap-up over the last week that have said,
that.
Hey,
yeah.
Bring on Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I don't think Sacramento, to their credit, is going to be as easy a first-round opponent as maybe some in the Bay think.
I agree.
But it all remains to be seen. We'll get into that. 888-957-9570. It's JD and Whitey here on a Saturday morning on 95.7 The Game.
So, how's your research going?
Surprising. After I figured out the top-rated TVs in our price range, I went shopping for deals.
And who's the best?
It wasn't the internet, and it wasn't the warehouse club.
But?
It was video only. They had better deals on the Samsung, LG, and the Sony TVs that got the highest scores.
Better than online and at the club?
I know! Video only beat them all. And now we can afford an even better model for the same price. My research really paid off.
If we buy it video only.
Exactly. Otherwise, we'll be sorry.
At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or microwaves, but you will find the best deals on top-rated TVs, soundbars, and monitors. Shop around. Just make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
you'll be sorry.
In Mountain View, San Mateo, Union City, Dublin, and San Rafael. Video Only.
Check out the secret sauce of the game after every Warriors game. The secret sauce of the game brought to you by Proposition Chicken. Fried, flipped, faked. This chicken goes 3 ways. Now available in 9 Bay Area locations.
Guys, fellas, men, are you Roman ready for the weekend? Right now, generic Viagra, aka Sildenafil, is just $4 per dose at Roman. Just complete a free online visit with a U.S. licensed healthcare professional. If medication is appropriate, Roman sends what you need in discreet packaging with 2-day shipping. Generic Viagra from $4 at Roman. Go to ro.co/Viagra. Do it today and get 20% off your entire first order. That's ro.co/Viagra.
Tax refund shock is everywhere. But what is it?
My tax refund shrank.
Mine too.
The culprit? Pandemic-related stimulus payments and tax credits expiring. In this reporter's opinion, you need a tax expert.
Hey guys, Jackson Hewitt guarantees your biggest refund.
And tax prep is 50% off? Going there now.
50% off is a limited-time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms.
The Smashing Pumpkins are bringing the World as a Vampire tour to Shoreline Amphitheater with special guest, Stone Temple Pilots, on August 3rd. Head to the contest page at 957thegame.com for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see the Smashing Pumpkins.
Hey, I'm Andy. I started Harry's because I was frustrated with buying razors at the drugstore. And when I say frustrated, I mean like so upset I called my friend Jeff.
Hello, this is Jeff.
Jeff, I'm at the store, and I don't get why these razors
cost so much?
Yeah, and do they need to look like robots?
Dude, I know. And it's so frustrating how expensive they are.
Getting ripped off sucks.
We gotta do something about this.
Why don't we make our own high-quality razors at much better prices?
Actually, I heard about this German razor factory that makes some really high-quality blades.
Really? Okay, maybe that's not exactly how it went, but we did buy that German factory, where we're turning high-quality steel into super sharp blades for a smooth shave at a great price. Seriously, as low as $2 per cartridge. Over the past 10 years, 20 million people have tried Harry's. Join them and get your starter set now. That's a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, and shave gel, all for just $3 with free shipping, backed by our quality guarantee. If you don't like it, it's on us. Just go to harrys.com now and enter code SMOOTH at checkout. That's harrys.com, code SMOOTH.
Find what you love at the Mila Innovation Center at Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill. Out of your dreams and into your kitchen, select the qualifying built-in kitchen appliance package that's right for you. With unrivaled technology and luxury-grade quality, when you bring home a Mila, you are bringing home true innovation. Now, for a limited time, save up to $2,100 with the purchase of a qualifying Mila appliance package. Visit the Mila Innovation Center at Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill or at friedmansappliance.com.
Wendy's $3 breakfast deal is a bacon or sausage egg croissant plus small seasoned potatoes for $3. It's the breakfast that don't miss. So if you did miss Wendy's breakfast, don't imagine fresh cracked eggs, sizzling sausage, crispy bacon, and block out those hot, buttery, flaky croissants. Croissants don't really make a sound, but if they did, for a breakfast that don't miss, Wendy's is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $3 breakfast deal.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Select a request $3 breakfast deal to obtain discount. Not valid for a la carte or combo orders.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
Curry waits, gets the inbounds from Clay. Dribbles down the lane on Mitchell, stumbles, and throws it up. It goes off the glass, and then he thought he got fouled. He's not happy. Warriors up 14. Again, you've heard me say this time and time again. As a superstar, he gets the fewest amount of calls of any superstar I've ever seen. He just does not get a whistle.
Now back to Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
All right, rolling along here on a Saturday morning. It's John Dickinson and Whitey Gleason. 888-957-9570. Calls coming up here in just a moment, Whitey, but there was a little bit of breaking news here during the break. NBA news. Woj reporting that the Grizzlies are not going to get Steven Adams back for the playoffs. ESPN sources, again, Adrian Wojnarowski, Memphis Grizzlies center Steven Adams likely to miss the postseason with the knee injury that he's had, likely to miss the postseason with his injured right knee. Adams underwent a stem cell injection a month ago. He's been out since late January and unlikely to return for the postseason. So we look at that. That's a big blow. I know the Grizzlies have been playing without him for a while, but he's somebody I think they would need in a playoff series to make a deep run. We'll see how the matchups shake out, but if it ends up being Lakers-Grizzlies, as it looks like statistically is the most likely scenario for them, I think the Lakers have action in that series.
Yeah, Warrior fans know that last year when the Warriors played them, Steven Adams had a hard time staying on the floor, but this year he's had a phenomenal year by Steven Adams standards. He's been a great rebounder, and with him on the floor, they've outscored teams by more than 10 points per 100. So he's had a really good year, but I'm sure they're not surprised. They were hoping against hope, so I'm sure they were somewhat prepared for this, but I agree with you. They would be a much better team if they had him heading into the postseason.
And look out, if it's Warriors-Kings 6-3 and Lakers-Grizzlies 7-2, look out for that 6-7 Warriors-Lakers second-round series with the Warriors having home court advantage.
Why not?
It's on the table.
Yeah.
On the table. On the table for us, though, is the phones, 888-957-9570. Skills in Vallejo gets us tipped off here on a Saturday morning on 95.7 The Game. What's going on, Skills?
Hey, good morning, John. Good morning, Whitey. Good to be on with you again. Usually when I call, I try to get in and get out quickly, but if I may this morning, I'd like to make a few points.
Please.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, first of all, that's just, for the Grizzlies, that is just terrible news about Steven Adams. I feel so bad for that team. There's such a group of upstanding, humble young men. They don't deserve bad things to happen to them. I'm being totally sarcastic, by the way.
Yeah.
Adams is a good dude, though, and Adams is a good. I'll say this: Adams is a good dude. I hear what you're saying, but Adams is somebody I like watching play.
Well, I like Adams too. He's definitely the exception to the rule, but yeah, anything bad happens to the Grizzlies, you're not going to hear me, if anybody, upset about it. But getting back to what Whitey said earlier about Kevon Looney's passing, I've noticed the same thing. His passing, not quite on Andrew Bogut's level. I don't think we're going to see him bouncing the ball through his legs or anything like that just yet, but he's really improved over the years. He's helping that offense probably as much as he ever has since he's been the starting center there. Next point, I want to thank Coach Mike Brown, jokingly, for sticking it to the Lakers for firing him, sitting out half his team last night, letting the Warriors essentially win, even though they at times tried not to. And my last point, maybe my most important point, I've called this show before and other shows in the past, and I've praised Moses Moody and his abilities because I think there's things he can do that I don't know if he gets enough credit for him. He is, because he can play. And there was times, even during his rookie season, I would have ranked him ahead of Kuminga among the 2 draft picks. But it's just frustrating when you have a player on your team that you know is capable of better than what they're showing you. And Moody last night, 1 for 3, 1 rebound, zeros in every other stat category over 10 minutes. He's better than that. He has to be better than that. He showed that in the game before when he filled in for Clay. He's better than that. Sometimes I see him out there and I think of Sam Perkins, who just kind of used to at times coast and just do just enough to get by on the court, which is not to say that he's lazy or anything like that. I would not say that. But he's just not very passionate out there, it seems like. And, well, I guess that's the same thing people would say about Andrew Wiggins, so maybe there's hope for him yet. He can still grow out of that. Because Moody, he's not a bad player. Now, I'm not saying that's not a bad player. Patrick O'Brien, posting up dudes who weren't even there, was a bad player. I have more points, but I just want to let other people get on right now. Thank you for taking my call.
Great call.
Yeah, thanks. As far as Moses Moody goes, I mean, Moses Moody is still 20 years old. He didn't turn 21 until May 31st. And so, is he where he needs to be a playable playoff player now? No, he's not. And look, he helped the Warriors the other night in a big way, and he deserves credit for staying ready. And Steve Kerr praised him after the game. He gave him a run last night. He was terrible. And that's part of the ups and downs of a young player. And the Warriors are going to have to balance that. I mean, Moody's not going to be somebody that's going to be in their playoff rotation unless there's an injury or there are other players that are playing horribly. That's just the reality. It doesn't mean Moses Moody can't go on to have a career. And I would push back on the notion of, don't misconstrue temperament for effort. You know what I mean? Because I think that is something that has dogged Wiggins unfairly throughout the course of his career because he's a quieter, soft-spoken guy. I think Moses Moody's a pro that, Kerr mentioned the comments that he made to him and Bob Myers this week about understanding that choosing to develop in the NBA as opposed to playing a lot at Arkansas in college means that there's going to be ups and downs and times where maybe he doesn't play. And so I think the kid's got a great shot to be a really, really good NBA player. I think at times, though, Whitey, not to be long-winded about it, I think Warriors fans just have a little bit of an unrealistic expectation for what these young players can provide right now. It doesn't mean they're not going to be good later, but whether it's Moody or Kuminga, at times Wiseman before he was traded, there was an unrealistic belief that, hey, these guys are helping in the playoffs, and it's just they're just not to that point necessarily yet to be able to do it consistently, or in Moody's case, probably at all this year.
The reason why Moody's been such a mystery to a lot of fans, and I include myself in that group, I think watching him, every game he plays, I think his fundamental issues with having more of an impact, I think they may have to do with athleticism. I think he's a student of the game. He's very mature. He understands what to do. We saw last night when he tried to dunk a putback, and we saw what happened. It's like, whoa. I think sometimes when you're not quite as athletic as people you're playing against, it looks like you're not trying because they're just a little quicker. I know that was one of the things we heard about him when he was drafted. Smart player, not real quick laterally. I think that's why he fouls sometimes. But I do think, to your point, I agree. I think he still has potential. But I still believe, JD, it goes back to what you and I have been saying about him since last year. It's like he's got to make his shots. And we know he can, but he doesn't always make his shots. If he's making jump shots, that insulates him from some of his shortcomings in other aspects, I think. Looney, by the way, Looney now is showing us that, don't forget, I used to be a guard. I haven't always been a center. I was a guard in high school. And Steven Adams, one more quick point on him, and I appreciate Skill's sarcasm. I think one of the ways where Memphis will really miss him, he's second in the league in screen assists. And I know a lot of people go, screen assists, come on, that's not really a thing. But he helps them in their half-court offense, and that's a real weakness for this team. If you get them in the half-court offense, you have an advantage over them, and they're even weaker without him.
No, and you referenced the numbers as far as plus minus and wins and losses when Adams was playing versus not playing. They were a much more beatable team when Adams was not playing. For them over the course of the last 2.5 months. So well said on that front. And you're right. They're just more beatable. I mean, that's simply put. It's not that they can't win. They've been playing without him for a while and won a lot, mostly at home. But the Grizzlies are just a more beatable team with him not on the floor. I think especially for a Lakers team that potentially would be their matchup. Let's keep it rolling on the phones. 888-957-9570. Austin and San Jose next here on Warriors This Week. What's going on, Austin?
Hey, fellas. Happy Saturday. Always enjoy the show. Listen, a couple things. The previous caller, by the way, got me laughing. Started talking about Big Sam and Moody. And, man, I think we've oversold. I think the real issue for me has always been I think the young guys for the Warriors have been oversold. I mean, if you watch the league, and I'd love to have your comments sometime, JD, about comparison of our young guys versus the young guys across the league in the same age group, because I think the Warrior fans are falling in love with guys that, quite frankly, haven't really earned it. So that's just a thought I had on that. As far as the Warriors going forward, my biggest concern to your question is really the inconsistency. That last night, throwing away passes, and that goes into the veterans. Now, we're not talking about young guys. We're talking about Steph Curry and throwing the ball away. And the other concern for me is the durability, guys. I mean, we're starting to see. I'm starting to see where Dre and getting banged up. You worry about Looney and the minutes he's had to play, and you're talking about just going into a playoff. So that's going to be something to watch with the Warriors as well as the rest of the league. I mean, look at Antetokounmpo and Middleton right now. I mean, both have funky knees, and so I think that's going to be the story of the playoffs: is who can be the healthiest down the stretch, because that's going to be the team that maybe walks away with the title for all we know, guys. Thanks. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, appreciate it, Austin. Couple things to chew on there, Whitey. Go ahead. What stood out to you? Because I was jotting down notes. I got thoughts on a bunch of it, but let.
Yeah, real quick. Obviously, the saving grace potentially for a team like the Warriors is once you get to the postseason, you got older players. They need more time to recoup between games, and you have more time, especially in the early round. So you get that once the playoffs start. You get a little more time. He's right, though. I mean, we see this every year in the postseason. One of the big stories is who's out for this team or that team. It's a big story every year, and we kind of forget about it because you don't like to think about it. But it's going to be a huge issue again this year, as he mentioned, with Middleton's situation. And then real quickly on the that's a great question. I know he addressed you specifically, but comparing the Warriors' young players to other teams' young players, I've been doing that for a couple of years. You look at last year, the Warriors couldn't really get there. They didn't get much out of their young players, and a team like New Orleans that did get into the postseason, they had Murphy, and they had the young guard, and they had Herb Jones, and like those guys were contributing by the end of the year. So I agree. I think the Warriors have drafted for upside, taken bigger swings, and other teams have drafted players maybe without as much apparent upside, but they've gotten more out of them as contributors earlier in their careers. I think that's a fair comment.
Yeah, and I do think the young guys, to go to specifically to what Austin said, I do think they have been a little bit oversold.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think that's come from the organization either. It feels a little bit more like a media fan concoction. I mean, I've referenced this before, and I don't want to come off as being hard on the guy, because I do think there are people that think I'm too hard on Kuminga specifically. But, I mean, Kuminga, I feel like, is somebody that regardless of how he plays, like nobody can say a critical word about him. Like there's just belief that he is just made and awesome already. And I think when you look at it in comparison to the other way Austin put it, falling in love with guys who haven't totally earned it. I mean, Kuminga's had some really good games, and he's had some really good games in the last month. He's also been it's been 50-50. Like he's had, I would say, as many games as he's had good games over the course of the last month. But nobody even, to me, points it out. I feel like when he doesn't play well, it's just, Kuminga. It's almost as if he's treated like he's more like Steph or Clay or Draymond in that, he's young and it's part of the development and he's just gonna play. And I think in the playoffs, in the regular season, that's fine. The Warriors do need him to play. And I think last night is an indicator. He scored last night, but I didn't think the shots that he took were great last night. I thought defensively he was more off the ball last night and had mistakes that, in terms of rotation or leaving his man. I think the rebounding continues to be a problem for him. Again, it's kind of similar to Moody, although Kuminga is much farther along at this stage, in that I think Kuminga is going to be a really good player, but to just think that he's a major factor right now, I think is a little bit, it is a little bit foolish and a little bit overblown. And again, it doesn't mean he's not going to be a factor in individual playoff games, but to just act like, hey, he's one of the ride or dies with the championship core, I do think there is, as Austin put it, Whitey, that tendency to fall in love with somebody a little bit too quickly.
Yes, but I also think that Kuminga has been a success story this year. And, he's not yet what the Warriors hoped he would be, but he has been. He's a good player, and he's getting better.
He's not a disappointment by any means.
Right. But I will also say this.
I don't want to come off that way.
Right. But I think some of the expectations, you say you weren't sure. You said, I don't know if that's the Warriors' fault. Some of it has been. I mean, you go back to, and I'm a big Steve Kerr fan, but you remember with Wiseman, he was comparing him to David Robinson. So you can't blame fans for getting excited about it. He's a young David Robinson. This is going to be great. And then I don't remember if it was the Warriors or just the media comparing Kuminga to Giannis Antetokounmpo. In all fairness, I don't remember if anybody with the organization actually did that. But you can understand how fans' expectations would be pretty high.
888-957-9570. Let's go to Joe in San Francisco next here on Warriors This Week. What's going on, Joe?
Happy Saturday, guys. First, let me just drop that. I can't fathom how any front office or even owner can come up with a logical basketball reason to bring in Kyrie Irving. He is a franchise record. But when it comes to the Warriors, I think there's three guys who you can say are take it to the bank in the playoffs, and three wild cards. The three take it to the bank are, of course, Steph, Draymond, and Looney, whose beer is reliable. Its beer always works. The thing with the three wild cards are Wiggins and Clay and Poole. But with Wiggins, I think a bad game for Wiggins is like K-Wiggs drifting, 4 of 12, 3 rebounds or something like that. But a bad game for Poole can be a wrecker because of, mistimed shots, bad shots, turnovers, reckless play. And same with Clay, who needs to not – he was playing great, in January, February, and March, but he can't be a role player. The role players play great at home, but great on the road. I mean, they play great at home, but poor on the road. He needs to be consistent for the Warriors to have success. But his game, when he's bad too, ill-advised shots, they can really turn a game. So I think Wiggins, he can be the best player in the NBA, as we saw bits and pieces of last year, when he's right. And my spidey senses say he's going to be good. But those two guys, Clay and Poole, I think the whole playoffs rest on. What do you guys think?
I think it's fair, Joe, and going back to what Austin had said, just in terms of like the turnovers and the sloppiness and all of that. I mean, Clay Thompson on a bad shooting night, Jordan Poole bad shooting night with the turnovers. If you're playing Sacramento, they will destroy you if you take bad shots and miss. They will, kind of like the old Warriors would do, like they'll hang a 45 on you in a quarter and flip a game or end a game basically in that moment. And so I do think, and we saw this last night with the 24 turnovers, and maybe the Warriors knew they had a little bit of margin for error considering the opponent they were facing last night with the Kings resting so many guys. But there were times last night where I really did think, man, you do this against the full throat Kings, you're losing the series. Mm-hmm. Like that thought crossed my mind last night. And I know a lot of Warrior fans don't want to think or acknowledge the fact that that's even possible, but this team's going to have to play, and the way I put it, and it's Poole and Clay to bring it back to Joe, they got to play buttoned up. They're going to have to attack the paint. They're going to have to not turn it over in ways that give the opposition easy buckets. And the big one for me, even above the turnovers, because Coach Kerr referenced it after the game, the turnovers, they always are a team that's going to walk up to the line on turnovers, but you can't cross it. If you cross it, it can become catastrophic. But to me, it's the bad shots, the shot turnovers. That's the thing you can't do in a playoff series, especially against a team like the Kings, or they have the potential to put you in a really bad way.
To the point about Clay, a couple of things that would be encouraging for the Warriors if they play against the Kings. Kings, their three-point percentage against how they defend the three-point line, they're 26th in the league. Sometimes that's just guys make shots or they don't, but they're not a good defensive team. And
they bait you into taking them, though, and if you're cold, even if those shots are open, you can get worked.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, but only 4 teams in the league give up a higher percentage from the three-point line than them. And just Clay, it's an interesting thing, as you know as well as I do, JD. Clay has a thing about Sacramento because he remembers they didn't draft him, and it's totally different people, running the show for the most part. But he has never forgotten that. That's why he often has a little something for the Kings, which I'm sure there's a very good chance we'd see more of that if they play in the postseason.
Let's go to Scott in Berkeley, 888-957-9570. Hey, Scott.
Morning, fellas. How you doing?
Hello.
Good.
This is why I guess tomorrow, first of all, let's get tomorrow out of the way. Win tomorrow, get the week off. That allows Wiggs to get back up to speed. Probably the most important thing to me is that Clay, in a lot of ways, through Wiggins' absence, really had to kick. And, when Wiggins was gone, Steph was also gone for part of that period. Clay did a lot of carrying of the team scoring-wise through that period. I think he shot really well in February. It kind of cooled off in March, and he's been kind of dragging it a little bit, I think, the last week or so. So getting the week off, getting some practice, at least if it's Sacramento, there's a certain familiarity, obviously, because of Brown. But the one thing I would worry about is that the 2 lead guys for the Kings are left-handed. And a lot of people don't realize this. Keegan Murray's actually left-handed, but plays right-handed. So there's a little bit of a problem, I think, insofar as defensive adjustment. But it's like I said, you're kind of looking at it and saying, get Wiggs back up to speed. Try and figure out between DiVincenzo and Kuminga, who kind of fills the Otto Porter Jr. role. The other thing is you get another week of Deuce Payton getting, even though he's reacclimated quickly, getting back more comfortable into, I guess, what we have to call the Gary Payton the second role, and kind of let it roll. I mean, it is the one thing where you look at them and you say they have champions imperative in this whole thing. And I talked a few weeks ago about a team having to win 4 series without having home court advantage. If there's anybody in this on both sides of the bracket who could do it, it would certainly be them. So let's just kind of let it roll and see what happens next week.
Thanks for the call, Scott. Look, I think as huge far upside as, to having a week off. Huge upside, no question.
There is a huge upside to having a week off. There were a lot of different things that Scott touched on. I was kind of jotting them down there, so I got caught picking which one to pick moving forward. I do think looking at the game last night, and this has been something a lot on the road, Whitey. I feel like the it's just been hard. Like, no matter what, like last night felt a little bit like the Houston game, and I think the Kings put a more talented team on the floor than maybe Houston has, or a more cohesive team than Houston. I don't know. It doesn't even matter. It was a game that, kind of a zero upside, game for the Warriors, and it just, they had to work so hard. Like, there were times where I'm looking at Draymond is just like he looks huffing and tired, and there just looks like there's this weight that it's not that they can't do it, but that it's taken a lot out of them. Even last night, a game where the Warriors won by 22 points.
Never trailed.
It didn't feel like they won by 22 points.
Mm-hmm. At times, I'd agree with you. At times, overall, I mean, they really struggled when Steph was off the floor last night, which is no surprise. But that's, to me, where one of the biggest differences was. Draymond, you're right. I mean, Draymond committed 5 fouls last night, 5 turnovers. Steve Kerr talks about this, and I have a hard time believing it, but the more you see it, the more I think, JD, a lot of that with this team, a lot of the issues are about focusing. And I know it sounds like an excuse, but you watch them, and I guess it makes sense especially for some of these guys that are used to playing, for championships, and, we're trying to play for playoff seeding here. I think that's probably going to be less of an issue once we get into the postseason.
We'll see. I mean, they keep saying it, and I keep believing them, but we'll see. And that, I think, is going to be the big test and question as we wrap up hour number 1, is how much of this is fixable just based on the fact the Warriors are going to be much more locked in, or is this kind of who the Warriors are now and they aren't good enough to overcome it? That question is going to be asked for better or answered for better or worse in the playoffs. All right, 1 hour in the books. We got 2 hours to come. 888-957-9570. It's John Dickinson, Whitey Gleason on 95.7 The Game.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Men, experience the benefit of Gainswave acoustic shockwave treatment to increase mood, energy, sleep, and blood flow circulation. Total body enhancement is a phone call away. Connect at gentlemanhealth.com or call 408-909-0291.
Payton, non-attorney spokesperson. Victims Justice Group is responsible for the content of this ad.
Attention. Mesothelioma is a rare and aggressive form of cancer that is caused by exposure to asbestos and causes devastating effects for thousands of people every year. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to a portion of the $30 billion in court-ordered trust fund money that has been set aside for mesothelioma patients and their families. Call the Victims Justice Group for a free consultation. 800-731-7925. Even if you smoked, many workers who were exposed to dangerous asbestos in the 1970s to now found companies did little or nothing to protect workers. Asbestos can be found at job sites and industries such as factories, shipyards, construction, automotive, pipe fitter, industrial plants, and so much more. Call the Victims Justice Group now. 800-731-7925. The average mesothelioma claim is more than $1 million, and often payment is received in less than a year. Find out now what you may be entitled to. Call 800-731-7925. Call now to get the help and financial compensation you deserve. Call 800-731-7925. 800-731-7925.
The listening you love is on the free Odyssey app. Your trusted local radio stations, coverage of your favorite teams, live news from your hometown, and millions of podcasts on demand. Best of all, you can completely customize your listening experience. Follow topics you care about, like leagues and teams. Pause or rewind your local sports and news, and add shows to your queue to catch up later. There's a lot to listen to, so get started and download the free Odyssey app today.
Wendy's $3 breakfast deal is a bacon or sausage egg croissant plus small seasoned potatoes for $3. It's the breakfast that don't miss. So if you did miss Wendy's breakfast, don't imagine. Fresh cracked eggs, sizzling sausage, crispy bacon, and block out those hot, buttery, flaky croissants. Croissants don't really make a sound, but if they did, for a breakfast that don't miss, Wendy's is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $3 breakfast deal.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Select a request $3 breakfast deal to obtain discount. Not valid for a la carte or combo orders.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
Bay Area Panthers indoor football is back. Coach Arbet is back. Hard-hitting, fast-paced, in-your-face football and fun for the whole family. Don't miss watching your Bay Area Panthers at SAP, presented by Mary West Credit Union. Enter to win tickets at 957thegame.com.
Hey, I'm Andy. I started Harry's because I was frustrated with buying razors at the drugstore. And when I say frustrated, I mean like so upset I called my friend Jeff.
Hello, this is Jeff.
Jeff, I'm at the store, and I don't get why these razors
cost so much?
Yeah, and do they need to look like robots?
Dude, I know. And it's so frustrating how expensive they are.
Getting ripped off sucks.
We gotta do something about this.
Why don't we make our own high-quality razors at much better prices?
Actually, I heard about this German razor factory that makes some really high-quality blades.
Really? Okay, maybe that's not exactly how it went. But we did buy that German factory, where we're turning high-quality steel into super sharp blades for a smooth shave at a great price. Seriously, as low as $2 per cartridge. Over the past 10 years, 20 million people have tried Harry's. Join them and get your starter set now. That's a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, and shave gel, all for just $3 with free shipping, backed by our quality guarantee. If you don't like it, it's on us. Just go to harrys.com now and enter code SMOOTH at checkout. That's harrys.com, code SMOOTH.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to 4hims.com/joy. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation and discreet shipping if prescribed. You'll love your results. To start your free online visit, go to 4hims.com/joy. That's FORHIMS.com/JOY.
Payton II, attorney spokesperson. Victims Justice Group is responsible for the content of this ad.
Attention. Mesothelioma is a rare and aggressive form of cancer that is caused by exposure to asbestos and causes devastating effects for thousands of people every year. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to a portion of the $30 billion in court-ordered trust fund money that has been set aside for mesothelioma patients and their families. Call the Victims Justice Group for a free consultation. 800-731-7925. Even if you smoked, many workers who were exposed to dangerous asbestos in the 1970s to now found companies did little or nothing to protect workers. Asbestos can be found at job sites and industries such as factories, shipyards, construction, automotive, pipe fitter, industrial plants, and so much more. Call the Victims Justice Group now. 800-731-7925. The average mesothelioma claim is more than $1 million, and often payment is received in less than a year. Find out now what you may be entitled to. Call 800-731-7925. Call now to get the help and financial compensation you deserve. Call 800-731-7925. 800-731-7925.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMC FM at HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
DiVincenzo penetrates, throws the ball right to Harrison Barnes. Almost hit him in the numbers. Dozier with a bounce pass. Warriors don't get back. Davis, but it's blocked from behind by Payton II. Payton II came out of nowhere. GP2. Curry with the dribble. Lost the handle. Gets it back. Takes it across the paint. Shoveled it to the corner. Payton there. Lets it fly. A 3-ball for Gary Payton right in front of the Warriors bench.
He likes that right corner. That's his favorite spot.
He's got 3 blocks tonight. 96-79 the score.
Now back to Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
Hour number 2, John Dickinson and Whitey Gleason. Big game from Gary Payton last night. One of a couple of blocks for GP2 in the game, and also that leading to that corner 3. Loving that spot from the corner. And I thought the most significant part as we welcome you into hour number 2 of Warriors This Week with John Dickinson and Whitey Gleason here on 95.7 The Game was the fact that he played 21 minutes last night, which was a bump up from his previous high, which had been in the 17 to 18-minute range over the last couple of weeks since rejoining the Warriors. And it just kind of, I know the Warriors probably want to keep him around 17. We've talked about that, Whitey, but the ability on nights where they need him to play into the 20s, I think is a good sign, because he is without a doubt one of the trustable playoff players for this team.
Last year when he left, I'd been looking at that and I understood the reasoning, and I was thinking, even if they'd kept him, he probably wouldn't play as well as he did last year. And of course he leaves and then they bring him back. And guess what? He's playing very close to how well he played last year. I'm talking about, takes 5 shots, makes 4 of them. Takes 3 3-pointers, makes 2 of them, and then does all the other stuff. So with the possibility of Wiggins coming back and Payton ramping up, ready to play more minutes and playing just about as well as he did last year, you can't overlook this team when you figure out which of these teams has a chance to get deeper and deeper into the postseason.
888-957-9570. More phone calls coming up here in just a moment. Whitey, I tweeted out what the league sent out. I'm not sure if you saw it, but the NBA just here at the top of the 11 o'clock hour released the complete Western Conference playoff and play-in scenarios for today and tomorrow's games.
Yeah.
It affects seeds 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It hasn't downloaded yet. I mean, it's so long. Your tweet.
It looks like an Andy Reid play card.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how you see Andy Reid on the sideline with all the different color play card, plays and different, hey, 3rd and 1, we're going to run this. 2nd and 15, we can run the. I mean, it is a color-coded. I mean, it looks like a lot of people enjoy like jelly beans, right, or jelly eggs for the Easter holiday.
Yeah.
It looks like a bowl of jelly beans with all the different colors.
It's too confusing. My mother-in-law last night, Taneko, great sports fan, great Warrior fan, she asked me, so how many more games do the Warriors have to win? And it's like, well, how much time do you have? Yeah, I mean, well, it depends. It's like, it's too complicated, and I'm looking forward to getting it over with and focusing on the matchups because these permutations you're talking about, I just get an ice cream headache when I try to sort them out.
And I tweeted out, and I know it made the rounds, I called it the condensed and simplified breakdown of just the Warriors-specific scenarios.
Yeah,
this was before last night's game, and a couple of people said, well, what's the non-condensed version? Because the condensed version was a lot. But I tried to make it the non-condensed version is what the NBA just put out on this jelly bean color-coded grid. And so we'll try and make some sense of it here over the course of the next couple of hours. But just giving it a quick glance off the top, I mean, it does tell us what we already knew, which is that the Warriors can finish anywhere between 5th still and 8th. 9th is now off the table. That is one thing that we do know for sure.
Thank goodness.
Is now off the table for the Warriors as far as the play-in tournament goes. That went by the wayside with the Warriors' ability to win in Sacramento last night. So 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Couple of calls to get to. Let's go to Fred in Oakland to get us started in hour number 2. What's going on, Fred?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? I just wanted to comment on Kuminga's play, as far as his style of play lately. The thing I think he needs to work on is he takes that set shot 3, and it just it's not a fit for him. If you look at DeRozan, I think he got himself to all-star status by utilizing that jump shot around the paint. He's very athletic, just like Kuminga is, and he was able to get himself, rise up and hit that 2. And I've seen Kuminga do that a few times in a game, and it looks real smooth, but he doesn't do it enough. I think he needs to add that repertoire to his game, and I think would really improve his offensive play and his shot selection, of course, as well. And I think that would probably be a real benefit. And to the previous caller who mentioned about Poole and Clay, I totally agree with him. I think they need to, Clay, sometimes, he'll drive and get stuck and stop his dribble, and he's stuck, and he's got nowhere to pass it to. And, that doesn't work. And Poole, he gets careless and tries to dribble between 4 or 5 guys. But I think Kerr needs to keep a short leash on Clay and Poole because he's got JP and now he's got Wiggins and DiVincenzo now to call in there and have them come in if they're not playing up to par. So that is a grace for us. He has that grace or that liberty to be able to call on those two in case Poole and Clay aren't really playing up to the standard that we need to play, especially in the playoffs. And so I just wanted to comment on that. I think if Kuminga could step up and add that that jumper that he has. He's got the lifts and everything, so he can definitely rise up and hit it. He's just got to work at putting his game more often. So I just wanted to kind of comment on that, see what you guys think.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Fred. As far as Kuminga for me, and yeah, I think that pull-up 2 does look smooth. I'm with you on the set shot threes, and there was somebody on the text line, Comcast Business text line, Whitey, who said, JD, Kuminga was 4 or 5 last night. What didn't you like about his shot selection? I don't like the wing and top of the key 3. He took a top of the key 3, which he made last night. I don't like that shot for him unless it's shot clock running down, absolutely has to be taken. I thought both of those were quick shots last night, and he made them. So credit to him, he made them. But those are not the shots that the Warriors want Jonathan Kuminga to take. Corner threes, no problem. Threes that get kicked back to him in the flow of the offense, no problem there. Those shots are shots that are created, must be taken types of shots. So if he doesn't make them, I'm not holding him as accountable for that. He also had a wild drive miss, and he had a bucket around the basket. For me on Kuminga, and I've been very consistent, for this team this season, there needs to be very little, if almost no, improvisation on his part, as far as like going to work and trying to put it on the deck and attack it. When he's been at his best, it's been cuts in the context of the Warriors offense for layups or dunks or getting fouled. It has been those corner threes when the defense, in the flow of the offense. It's been transition where he's gotten buckets off of his own defense. It's been just minimal improv type plays. I thought there was a little too much improv, Kuminga, last night. And I think that and the fact that he wasn't guarding the ball as much defensively were why he was a minus even in a game where he scored.
I think the area that you're talking about is the area in which he's made the most growth this year. And I'm not disagreeing with you, but talking about improv, as you put it, I know Steve Kerr has talked about the offense, and we've talked about this, and ideally, this is really hard to live up to, but ideally in this offense, you make a catch, you get the ball, you're going to decide what to do, dribble, pass, shoot in half a second. I think Kuminga earlier in his career, especially last year, really struggled with that because he's so talented. I think his natural inclination was to get the ball and take a look, and it became a little bit of a ball stopper, and that's just the way he naturally has played, and I think he's adjusting to that. I agree with you. A quick shot is not a good shot for him, but the set shot 3 for him, I'm okay with that. This year he's shooting it at 37%. I'm not saying he should shoot it anytime he gets, but I think Naz Reid has a nasty looking set shot, but man, he can make that. I think going forward, I think that may be the way for Kuminga on the 3-pointers is that set shot. As athletic as he is, I think he's shown some real improvement and more consistent form shooting that more of a set shot 3 than the jump shot.
Yeah, you're right. That's just his shot.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like that's not I don't have an issue with it with the actual shot.
You're talking shot selection. Yeah.
My issue is where he's shooting it from,
and how often.
And I don't think he should ever be shooting the wing or top of the key 3 unless it's an emergency situation for now.
Mm-hmm.
But again, teams are gonna, and I think Sacramento. You saw a little of this. Sacramento really tried to back off of him, and I think that was a tell as to how he would be defended if he plays in a series against the Kings. Like, hey, go to work. I think that was a Mike Brown kind of knows if you just, Kuminga gets it out there at the top and he's wide open, he isn't necessarily going to know what to do with it or make the right play quickly enough to keep everything in the flow. I will say this before we move on to the phones for Fred's point about that pull-up 2. He does look really comfortable with that pull-up 2. Like that is a shot that if there is one improv play that okay, you know what? That looks pretty good. It's probably that. But again, to me, the key for Kuminga and if you're watching the game, when Kuminga's had his most success, it's been on plays that are completely in the context of the offense with very little improv, and it's been high IQ basketball on his part by cutting, and basically the gravity of the play and the spacing on the floor makes the play for him, where it's, hey, you get it, you're in the right spot, and it's a dunk or a layup. And that to me, that's how Kuminga becomes playable in a playoff series at a higher level, in addition to defense, on-ball, rebounding, hustle, the high motor type plays. 888-957-9570. Calvin in St. Louis next year on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Calvin.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Better than your Battlehawks are doing right now, Calvin. Your St. Louis Battlehawks are losing to the Vipers 11-8. Yeah.
You got that right, but I just wanted to say, man, something that I don't think nobody's talking about. You guys do a great job on this show. I love it. But with everything the Warriors going through, first of all, the least foul free throws in the game and everything else like that with the referees and the turnovers and the lazy passes, the Warriors average, usually when they lose, it's only about 1 or 2 points. If they clean up these things that I'm about to say, that should fix everything. Notice that they average losing by 1 or 2 points. First of all, you got everybody on Steph and Clay. That leaves 3 people open. Practice the alley-oops and let GP2 and Kuminga get the easy dunks. They'll get it every game because if you start facilitating them and doing alley-oops to them and let them get those easy points instead of everybody jacking up threes and looking stagnant and making it obvious that Looney and Green gonna be passing the ball to Steph and Clay. Throw the alley-oops to the boys, man. Stop throwing these lazy passes and dribbling, and when GP2 goes up and there's a fast break, why would you slow down once you get to the other end? Pass the ball to the guys on the inside. Kuminga and GP2 know how to do the dunks, and if Steph and Clay got somebody on them, let Kuminga and GB2 facilitate each other and alley-oop each other, and that'll force everybody else to sit up there and go to them, and then we play them open for clean shots. So what do you guys think about that?
Thanks for the call. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think that is the template. It's funny. I was thinking, as he mentioned Payton, I was thinking about Kuminga again. Basically, Kuminga, like the way Payton plays offense for this team is exactly how Kuminga should play offense. Corner threes, dunks, transition. Like, to me, they're almost the same. The same, they're basically the same player, I think, offensively in terms of role. Kuminga obviously is more dynamic and much higher ceiling and can do more if it's there for him to do. But taking advantage of, and that's one thing where why do you play Sacramento? Not settling, as we've talked about. You don't settle against the Kings. You attack them. The Kings don't have rim protection. That's one area. They give up a ton of points in the paint. You can hammer them on cuts and extra passes and things like that, especially if they come out and try and defend the three-point line. You can't settle for the contested, quick shot, bad threes. It is death against them.
I will just say this to Calvin's point. Thank you, Calvin, for listening. He talks about the way teams are focusing so much on the Warriors, and I know this isn't new or anything, but so often we see them and we hear about teams top blocking. And JD, you've been watching basketball for a long time. There was a time it was like you'd never do that. It's like, what are you doing? You have to get on the other side of the guy to play defense. But the game has changed so much in the last 15 years, and the Warriors have had so much to do with that now you're more worried about a guy going out and making a three than you are about him getting to the basket. And the Warriors, I think they do a pretty good job of recognizing that and taking advantage of that.
No, they do, but again, I think they don't. I think there are times where they aren't patient enough with it, and being patient with it is something you have to do in a playoff series. Again, regardless of opponent, but especially if the Warriors end up playing a team like Sacramento. To me, and I think we had a Comcast Business text line texter that say this. I think he was quoting Monty Poole, and it was the fact that the Kings have the type of offense that can really take advantage of the Warriors' defense at times. They have a good interior player. They run a lot of high post stuff with some really good shooters. They run pick and roll with Sabonis and Fox. Like, there are ways that they can hurt the Warriors. They're just potent. I mean, they're going to be the team with the highest offensive rating in the last 49 years in the NBA. I mean, this season that the Kings have had offensively is historic in a sense. It is the best offense of my lifetime in the NBA. I mean, it is a big deal, and I'm in my early 40s now. I mean, so you got to be buttoned up against this team. But I think the other key, Whitey, is you have to be able to take advantage of their lack of defense on the other end. And you can score on them and make it about getting the critical stops. And that's really been the difference between the Kings and the Warriors this season, has been the fact that the Kings have been really good in close games on the road in particular, and the Warriors have been terrible in close games on the road for the most part. Now, neither team overall has defended well. I know the Warriors have defended really well at home and not so much on the road, but the close games and games against bad teams, I mean, that's really, if these two teams play each other, the two main differences.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about it if it ends up those are the two teams playing. But I just think it's going to be interesting to see the way Mike Brown defends the Warriors because he's so familiar with everything they do. And to your point, yeah, Sacramento's offense has been the most efficient we've seen. But I'm sure Warrior fans have seen them play. They saw them last night. But there's a lot of things they do. It's like, hey, that's what the Warriors do. I mean, even like with Sabonis running the offense through Sabonis, they weren't doing that as much last year, and that's very Draymond Green-like. So the chess match, as we say, I know it's cliche. Anytime you have a big game or in basketball playoff series, it's going to be a chess match. It's really going to be interesting to see the way these coaches and coaching staffs counter each other because they're so familiar with each other and the way they're trying to do things.
Dave in San Jose next on Warriors This Week. What's going on, Dave?
Hey, guys. Good morning. Hey, I'll be to the point today. I think I want the Warriors to get the 5 seed and play Phoenix. You're going to have to, and then I know if you won that, you'd play Denver the next series. You're going to have to beat those teams anyway, so why not play them now? And if you do beat them, then with each ensuing series, the field gets easier. And what you've been implying all year, that you can flip the switch and turn it on in the postseason. Well, let's see if that's proven correct or not. And if not, let's end the misery that this season has been for 5.5 months. Let all the veterans get an extra 6 to 8 weeks in their off season, come back strong next year. So yeah, I'm actually in the minority, or I want to play Phoenix in the first round, and let's see what we got. Interested in getting your guys' thoughts. Thanks.
I'd rather be at full strength when I play them, JD. I'd rather have Wiggins back full strength by the time I play the Suns. So if I had to play the Kings, I wouldn't have to play the Suns, if I have to play them at all, until the conference finals, and then I'd be ready to go. I'd have a fuller roster.
Yeah, and that's a unique way of looking at it. But there is something to be said with the Warriors being an older team as well, that maybe they're fresher earlier, and that the toll of the first couple of series impact the later series if the Warriors are able to win. And so I don't think in the world of trying to analyze everything, it's that crazy.
Oh, no, it's not
however,
crazy. Yeah.
It really isn't. And it's basically, hey, you're more fresh against maybe the best team that you'd face. And I do think Phoenix is the best team the Warriors would face in a playoff. And so we'll see. I mean, the Lakers may have action. They're a tough team. They could upset somebody. Denver is really good. But the notion that as the Warriors get tireder, maybe the opponents are lessened a little bit in each round until you get to the finals. I think the Eastern Conference teams are better than everybody in the West if you end up getting to the finals. But at that point, you're in the finals. And you're going to get 2 days off before every game, except for game 3 and 4. In between game 3 and game 4, if you're able to reach that point. To me, you need a little bit of wiggle room, though, in the first round. I always like to have a little bit of wiggle room, and not that playing the Kings is a picnic. It's not at all, but I do think you've got more wiggle room playing the Kings in the first round than you do if you're playing the Suns in the first round of the playoffs. Sri is next in Fremont. What's going on, Sri?
Hi, JD and Whitey. Thanks for taking my call. I just want to talk about Jordan Poole. Hello?
Yes, you're on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it, Sri.
Yeah, okay. Hey, I agree with I think a couple of previous callers who called out like Jordan Poole play, how it can actually negatively impact the team, especially in the playoffs. I look at his advanced stats. He has a negative net rating for this season. So it means, as you guys know, that at the time he's on the floor, actually it's not winning basketball. And there's another stat called wins above replacement that has 538 guys have this stat, and he has a negative net rating there too, and he's the only guy with negative net rating when in that stat, wins above replacement. That means if he replaces, he's below average guy in NBA. That's what the stat says. And the reason he has negative rating is because he takes so many threes. He takes 8 threes per game. He's only shooting 33%. We go gaga over. He shot 200 threes, but no one talks about he missed 432 threes. And he's on a team with the greatest shooters ever. Why would he take 8 threes per game? Those long threes and so much time on the shot clock. Those are, I think, Whitey, you call it. Those are like a turnover shot, like easy transition buckets, right? And then also he leads the league in turnovers, not leads, but he's in top 5. This is not slander. This is just constructive feedback or criticism. Like we want the Dub fans wants the best for JP, right? Wants the best for the team. So this is not slander. And as Festus says, these are not stupid questions. Like JP was not in the closing lineup 3 of the last 5 games, even though he was playing very well, right? So these are the real questions to ask. And JP has to change. He needs to play like last year, where his minutes were positive. Otherwise, I think he'll be a drag on this team and come playoff time.
Thanks, Sri. No lies detected, and all backed up by data. And so I do want to comment on it coming back, Whitey. Mm-hmm. What? Just some overarching thoughts on that. We'll pause. We'll come back on it.
Yeah, real quick, I feel like he's watching me here because I had those numbers up at some point today. I was wondering, seriously, the numbers that I had those exact numbers up here. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to...
Change your YouTube camera light.
Yeah, what's going on here? We'll dive back into that, JD, and I look forward to it.
Yes, Sri, good stuff there, and I jotted down a bunch of it. I want to kind of get into it point by point. 888-957-9570. We'll get to Tracy as well. It is Warriors this week on 95.7 The Game.
So what are you reading?
I'm checking out the ratings on the new TVs, and it looks like Samsung, LG, and Sony got the best scores.
Just like last year. What about those new high dynamic range TVs?
They got the highest scores of all, but their prices are really high.
Did you check online?
Yeah, their prices were about the same.
Well, there's one place where we can get a hot deal on those top-rated models.
Where?
At Video Only. Check out the ratings on TV stores.
I see. Video Only scored better than the others.
So, if you want the best deal on the best TVs,
then we should take our TV ratings and head over to top-rated Video Only.
At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or microwaves, but you will find the best deals on top-rated TVs, soundbars, and monitors. Shop around. Just make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
you'll be sorry.
In Mountain View, San Mateo, Union City, Dublin, and San Rafael. Video Only.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The Prophetic Matrix. Unlock the secret code to your destiny. A new revolutionary book by Michael John Toste. The first ebook to make history by being filmed in space. Discover your unlimited future. Get The Prophetic Matrix now on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
I'm Howard Mackler, founder of Innovation Refunds. You've heard me talking about the payroll tax refund for months. If you own a business, even if you've asked your CPA about this, you owe it to yourself to take another look. We provide a licensed and insured tax attorney who evaluates your company at my expense to determine eligibility. Businesses of all types can qualify, so go to GetRefunds.com to potentially get a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee. Download the Innovation Refunds app or go to GetRefunds.com, GetRefunds.com.
Find what you love at the Mila Innovation Center at Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill. Out of your dreams and into your kitchen, select the qualifying built-in kitchen appliance package that's right for you. With unrivaled technology and luxury-grade quality, when you bring home a Mila, you're bringing home true innovation. Now, for a limited time, save up to $2,100 with the purchase of a qualifying Mila appliance package. Visit the Mila Innovation Center at Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill or at friedmansappliance.com.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to 4hims.com/joy. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation and discreet shipping if prescribed. You'll love your results. To start your free online visit, go to 4hims.com/joy. That's FORHIMS.com/JOY.
Remember that feeling you had when you first heard the roar of the ocean? Or the first time you visited a museum? Or the zoo? Many of us discovered all of these during field trips, yet these trips are out of reach for many Bay Area students. Youth Transportation Organization, or YUTS, provides transportation solutions for schools and youth servicing nonprofits. Our partnership with BART has provided rides for tens of thousands of Bay Area students. To donate or to learn more, visit YUTS.org, YOOTS.org.
At Lowe's, we're always bringing pros more ways to save on the brands you trust. Right now, buy a select DeWalt 12-volt bare tool starting at $119 and get a DeWalt 12-volt 2-pack battery free valued at $129. Plus, you'll always save big on job lot quantities when buying select building supplies in bulk. Because Lowe's knows savings, Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Lowe's reserves the right to limit quantities. Discount taken at time of purchase. Battery and charger not included with buy items. Valid through 5/3.
News Team 5's News on the 5s. This just in. KFC is introducing new Kentucky Fried Chicken Nuggets. For more, here's Kelly Nichols.
Thanks, Gary. These KFC chicken nuggets are tender, juicy, and highly sauceable. As one team put it, no cap. These nuggies are straight fire. Gary?
Thanks, Kelly. Sounds bussin'. That does it for news. Order KFC's new hand-breaded chicken nuggets on the KFC app. You've never had nuggets like these. That's finger-licking good. Price and participation may vary.
Kelley Blue Book is the one-stop shop for pricing, fixing, selling, and instant cash offering. Instant cash offer is exactly what it sounds like. An official offer to buy or trade your car. Woo-hoo! Just enter your VIN or license plate, answer a few questions about your car's history, and what kind of condition it's in. In minutes, you'll receive an offer to sell or trade your car that you can be sure is fair. Then choose a dealer to purchase your car and schedule a time to meet. For all of the its, KBB.com.
Hey fans, I'm breaking down MLB Play. I think they're the best MLB games. Now my personal favorite, Beat the Streak. Pick who you'll think will get a hit building your own streak. It's all on you, baby. You can win $5.6 million. The streak's alive! Next up, Pickle. Guess the player in the fewest number of tries. Got him! And there's other games like Bingo, a race to be first. Bingo, MLB Play. Great games, great prizes, and it's all free. No purchase necessary. Restrictions apply. See official rules and enter at MLB.com/play. Oh yeah!
He had a tough night. I thought the game got away from him a little bit. He let the officiating bother him a little bit, and he's got to be able to play through that. He knows that. We talk to him about it all the time, and I thought he did a good job in the second half of getting to the line at some key times when we needed some points and staying poised, staying under control. It was just a tough shooting night, but I thought he was much better in the second half than he was in the first.
Now back to Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
All right, halfway through here on a Saturday, it's John Dickinson, Whitey Gleason, Steve Kerr there on Jordan Poole's night, and it was a rough one overall for Jordan Poole. 0 for 10, 0 of 6 from 3. He wound up being a -9, scored 8 points, did get to the free throw line the 9 times for those 8 points. He hit 8 out of 9, and Steve Kerr trying to put a positive spin on what was a bad night, Whitey. We had Sri, our caller from the end of the last segment, bring up a lot of different things on Jordan Poole, including some numbers that I know you had jotted down on your notes to get into. I've got some overarching thoughts on this, but I'll just kind of let you start on everything Sri had to say about Poole.
The Warriors need Jordan Poole. They need him to do what he can do, which is he can supply them with a great deal of offense when he's playing well, and he's vitally important to them. That said, too often this time he's been inefficient, and Sri mentioned the three-point numbers. Jordan Poole takes the third most three-point shots on the team. So only Steph and Klay take more three-pointers than him. But in terms of percentage, these Warriors this year shot for a better percentage from the three-point line than Jordan Poole while they're with the Warriors. So James Wiseman, GP2, Steph, Klay, DiVincenzo, Wiggins, Ty Jerome, JaMychal Green, Patrick Baldwin Jr., Anthony Lamb, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and Ryan Rollins, all a higher percentage from the three-point line than Jordan Poole. So, you could look at that and go, hey, maybe he don't shoot so many threes, but he's just really inconsistent. So that's him. The concern for me is that I think Mike Brown knows how to defend Jordan Poole as well as any coach knows how to defend him. Was last night just a blip? I know we didn't see the Kings' best defensive players all night long, but that could be a key to this series if the Kings have a key to really making sure that bad Jordan Poole is the one you see most of the time. That'd be a problem for them in this series.
I also think combinations are a part of it with Jordan Poole. And, his night didn't start out terribly. He was on the floor with a couple of the starters, as he typically is in the beginning. Where his night really went awry was toward the end of the first quarter, but really in the second quarter when he was out there with other bench players. And he was out there with Looney as well, who's not a scoring threat. He was out there with Kuminga, where I think you're probably asking Kuminga to do a little bit too much as the number two, I think, in terms of offensive mentality, because he was out there with DiVincenzo as well. So DiVincenzo is always going to make the right basketball play. You've got Poole, who wants to try to be the guy. Kuminga, I think, in his own way, especially when he's out there with that group, thinks that he has to do more, and I think tried to do more at times. And then you had Moses Moody out there, who was awful in that stretch, really, really both ways. I think, as bad or worse as Poole was for the game, Moody was in that first stint in the first half, to the point where Steve Kerr didn't even go back to him in the second half until the game was decided. So I think part of it is shot selection for sure, and taking fewer threes. He's got to finish strong at the rim when he attacks the rim. Getting to the free throw line is something that could be beneficial. But I think it does come back to Whitey, the combinations. Steve Kerr, and this is the bigger point of how do you get the most out of DiVincenzo and Payton and Poole and all of that. It's who is he on the floor with, I think, that's the most important thing that Steve Kerr's going to have to figure out. There, for whatever reason, Jordan Poole, and it's not a crazy thing to think, but he is much worse when he's on the floor with worse players. Mm-hmm. Much worse. Like, it's just that is the one thing above all the other analytical numbers about the shots and the stats and all that. To me, it's obvious to the eye when he's on the floor with lesser players, his game goes in the tank.
And I think a big part of that, not all of it, but a big part is that if he's on the floor with better players, they're getting the brunt of the defensive focus. And I think Sacramento, that's what I'm interested to see. If they know that, hey, when he's out there, we guard him like this, forget about who else is on the floor, and then he's nothing. We can take him out of the game. So I'll be interested to see if that's something going forward that they employ. Real quick, you mentioned DiVincenzo, and some people, this is, fans talk about this Warrior, the system, it's so complicated, and the young players can't play it so complicated. You get a guy like DiVincenzo or Lamb or Jerome, they're basketball players. They come and it's like, yeah, I got this, boom. It's not that complicated. That's my point. I think people make too much of this, this overcomplicated offensive system that the Warriors run. Look at DiVincenzo. He looks like he's been playing it his whole life, because in a way he has, because it's actually very basic stuff.
888-957-9570. Back to the phones we go. Tracy and Vallejo next here on 95.7 The Game. What's going on, Tracy?
Hey, how you guys doing today, man?
Good, Trace.
Good, man. How you been?
I'm doing great. It's a Saturday, so I'm just chilling today, listening to you guys. I know everybody's talking about, everybody wants to see the Warriors get a kickstart and get to turn on the switch. I know this sounds kind of silly what I'm getting ready to say, but I'm going to still say it anyway. I said this wouldn't make me mad if the Warriors lost that last game and dropped into the play-in game and they won, because I think they'd win anyway if they played in the play-in game. But I think the thing that would wake the Warriors up if they had to play Memphis in that first round. You guys could not tell me, with the way Memphis has been talking, the way Dylan Brooks has been acting this year, that would jumpstart the Warriors. Knowing they could take out Memphis in the first round of the playoffs, I guarantee we see the Warriors back hot and smoking if they had to play Memphis in that first round instead of Sacramento. That's just me personally, what I think. That would get the Warriors juices flowing.
Well, the only way, Tracy, you're going to play Memphis in the first round is if you lose tomorrow, and you're also a play-in tournament team at that point. So the only way you do that is if you have to play an extra game, which I know the Warriors don't want. I don't dispute the fact that the Warriors wouldn't be lit up against Memphis, but that series would take a pound of flesh, Whitey. That series would, even if the Warriors win it in 6, that series would take a pound of flesh.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, to Tracy's point, that it's not going to take an opponent like the Grizzlies to get the Warriors locked into what they're doing. Hopefully, whether it's Sacramento or anybody, once you get to the postseason, and I think we saw that last year with Denver, that's going to be enough to get them, as Steve Kerr once said to Jordan Poole, lock the F in. I think
no doubt. And look, I think the Kings are going to get. I think the Kings get the Warriors' attention. Like that's actually not something I'm worried about. It's to me more about, are they going to play better? Because their whole thing all year has been, when it actually matters, we're going to be able to lock in. Well, the Kings are not some patsy. I mean, this is not like this is the Kings are a good team. And, is their record a little inflated this year? Maybe, but they've got a lot of talented pieces. They've got Mike Brown, who knows the Warriors system very well. They're not going to have to travel either, just like the Warriors aren't going to have to travel if this thing happens. And so, I think last night at times shows you that the Kings are not going to be some pushover against the Warriors. I said this to Steiny and Guru. I know we got a lot of people that want to talk. We'll get back to the phones here in just a second. But I was on with Steiny and Guru a little bit yesterday. And 2 months ago, I would have said Warriors beat the Kings in 5. I would have. Kings record inflated. Warriors get, this is before Wiggins had gone out and now has to come back. I would have said, you know what, Warriors in 5. Now it feels like Warriors in 7 to me. And, if those two teams play. And part of it is the Kings played much better after the All-Star break, had some really big wins against some other good teams after the All-Star break. They lost to some teams in the East too. But they I think, backed up their record in the post-All-Star break portion more than they did when it was a little fluky in the first half. So I give them credit for that. I think they're a more legitimate team than maybe I did a month and a half to 2 weeks ago, or to 2 months ago. The other part of it, though, is this, Whitey. The Warriors, the way the Warriors played, on the road, and once they got Steph back initially in early March, like, to me, and even in a game like last night, I just and now with Wiggins being out and having to come back, it just gives me a little more concern that it's not going to be as easy as people think, if that makes sense. Not going to be quite as easy as people think to just flip the switch, as a lot of people say.
Yeah, I think it's possible the Warriors flip the switch. They give their full attention to the Kings, again, assuming it's them, but it's still going to be a challenge because the Kings in some ways match up well. We know that Steve Kerr's talked on the station about how, sometimes we give up a lot of threes because we're so weak at the point of attack. Well, De'Aaron Fox, if you're weak at the point of attack, he will test that. So the Warriors are going to have a real challenge on their hands. I'm with you. There's every reason to think that they can win that series, but it's not going to be, let's go into Golden One, come back here, we'll wrap this thing up in 4. This is very unlikely against this Kings team.
No, it's a very good team, and everything the Warriors have in experience, the Kings have in youth, I think, which they could make the Warriors look old, I think, in stretches of a series at a level that we really haven't seen other teams do it. Khaled in Clayton, 888-957-9570. What's going on, Khaled?
What's going on, guys? Happy early Easter and happy Passover to everybody who's celebrating that as well.
Thank you.
Let me say this. I said this, and I've said this, and I'll continue to say this. The worst and the toughest opponent the Warriors have is the Warriors. And it creeped up again last night with the turnovers. And that is their bugaboo. That is what makes them look horrible on defense because they're on their heels, especially when they're doing the live ball turnovers. I don't care who you put up in front of them. If they take care of the ball, they're going to be a tough out. And not only that, they're going to be favored if they can take care of it. And I think shoring up the rotations, you're not going to see him throwing in Lamb very much. You're not going to see him throwing in Moody very much. You're going to see a much tighter rotation with the older guys because you're not going to have back-to-backs. There's going to be time off in between. And what you're going to see, hopefully, is a more mentally focused Warriors team that's a lot more comfortable. Maybe Wiggins comes in off the bench. Maybe he doesn't. But when you look at the players that are going to be the pieces, the chess pieces that Curry's going to have, we have a lot of pieces that hurt the Kings defensively because we've got a lot of slashers. When you look at Wiggins, when you look at DiVincenzo, when you look at GP2, when you look at it, and even though Poole had a bad game yesterday, he did a fantastic job of getting himself to the line when he stopped looking at the three-pointer and started focusing on getting contact inside. And that's one thing that the Kings do poorly is when guys are coming in, they will swipe and they will foul and they will put teams on the line, especially Sabonis. Get into his chest and take the blocking away from him and try to get onto the line and try to get an and one. So I think we're going to see a big chess match once we get into this. And I think we have, as much as they have pieces to make us look old, we have pieces in there that can hurt them because they are defensively faulty, and that's what we have to take advantage of. No more 50% shots, when you look at the stat line from the three-point line. You got to get into their chest and work inside out as opposed to outside in.
I think that's well put, Khaled. I think spot on. You got to attack them inside for sure, and you can annihilate them on the inside. And some teams really haven't run Sabonis off the floor this year. I know the Warriors have been able to do that to bigs, and not that he'll keep playing, but the Warriors have been able to make guys like Sabonis look horrible in the playoffs in the past. I feel like in the regular season, teams haven't really been able to get away with that against Sacramento as much as you would imagine they would, but it's definitely an area where the Warriors can exploit. And we had somebody on the YouTube stream point this out, Whitey. A lot of the Kings' better defenders were playing last night, and some of their weaker ones, Herter, Sabonis, were not.
Monk wasn't playing.
Is a really bad defender. And hey, this may come off as a little bit of a hot take. De'Aaron Fox, for about 3.5 quarters, is not a good defender. He kind of is offense only, and then in the fourth quarter in close games, he locks in and tries to defend late in the game. So there are ways that they can definitely attack Sacramento if that's the matchup.
The thing that stood out to me about what Khaled said was the turnovers, and we know that the Warriors, we know now they're going to turn the ball over. It's a combination of players who are great passers trying to do too much in an offense that gives them a lot of freedom. I get that. I just don't expect it to get worse. So a game like last night, I'm sitting there and it's like I accept it. All right, they're gonna turn the ball over. They're gonna make unforced turnovers. But some of the plays last night, JD, there are 24 of them. It's like, what in the world is going on? The hook passes from one side of the court to out of bounds. Payton came in, made a terrible pass. Draymond made some terrible passes. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's being locked in. It's just going to happen. But obviously, if you cut down on those during the postseason, it's going to go a long ways towards helping you win these games and these series. I have no explanation for it. Steve Kerr knows. They all know it's a problem. They talk about it. They work on it, and it still happens. It can't get any worse. You can't afford to continue to do it at an even higher rate.
Let's go to Coach in Fremont next here on Warriors This Week. What's up, Coach? Oh, we lost Coach. Dory in San Francisco. What's up, Dory?
I liked your chemistry with Dibbs. You and JD are my favorites, but I liked how you and Dibbs were interacting.
Well, thank you.
The other day. I have a little detour to go on. One, going back to a conversation you had in the first hour about Dallas and their game last night. But let me start off with a question about the Lakers. I mean, I always thought Rob Pelinka was like the worst GM in the NBA, and then he hit gold, obviously, at the All-Star break. But I'm curious, someone like Jared Vanderbilt, who I don't know why really Minnesota let him go. And then why in the world would Utah let him go, along with Malik Beasley, who's a damn good three-point shooter, for essentially, well, a protected first-round pick, okay? That's what they got. What is it about Jared Vanderbilt that he's, on the move so much, because he's a really excellent role player, and Beasley, he's a great three-point shooter, and, shooting is really important. So that's one question. But let me also address Dallas, because, JD, you said it was gutless, but I don't think you actually articulated the other side of the argument, which was Mark Cuban knew that going into that game, Dallas and the Bulls, who played each other, were tied for the 10th worst record in the NBA.
Yeah.
And if the Mavericks have a top 10 pick in the draft, they keep it. But if they lose that game, then, if they win that game, then they would have the pick go to the Knicks as part of the Porzingis trade in 2019. So he basically lost the game so that they would not have to give a pick to the Knicks.
Keep the pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, Dory. And look, to me, gutless is even being in that position where you're 12 versus 11, 11 versus 10, trying to keep the pick. Gutless is how they played, or in some cases didn't play, Kyrie, in some of the instances, since they made the trade. Gutless was being in that position. I get the tactical reason why they did it, but I'm not giving you credit for tactically making the best of a situation that you were only in because you were gutless.
Plus, it's a bad look when your coach has to explain it awkwardly. He's like, hey, what's going on? I mean, that's gutless, I think, to put him in that position. Some of it, JD, as we said, some of it may have been Cuban trying to, give his finger to the league because he lost a protest or whatever. Dory's right, but at the same time, yeah, it was a terrible, terrible look for the Dallas Mavericks.
Terrible look, and yeah, I get why they want to keep their pick. They want to keep their pick because they might not keep Kyrie. They might not be able to keep Kyrie. I mean, that pick could be something they could accumulate. As far as the whole, why did Vanderbilt and Beasley move around so much? Well, part of it is, you go back to when they were in Minnesota, they were traded for Rudy Gobert, and you could say, hey, that was a bad move by the Timberwolves, and I think there's a lot of data evidence to back up, all right, maybe that was a bad move by the Timberwolves. But those players were traded because the Minnesota thought they were getting better in sending them to Utah, in addition to all the other first-round picks that went in that deal, Whitey. But it was to get Gobert, and then Utah is just in accumulation mode.
Yeah,
Utah is trying to accumulate as many first-round picks as they possibly can. They're kind of Oklahoma City 2.0.
They don't need role. Those guys are very good role players, but we don't need that. We're trying to build the foundation for a great team of the future is what we're trying to do.
And so they were using those role players to try and accumulate picks, and that was something where, hey, the Lakers are willing to give up some picks to be able to move on. It's also why Conley ended up on the move going to Minnesota in a separate deal than the Gobert deal, and the Lakers ended up getting off of some of those other guys. The Timberwolves also wanting to trim some salary there. So it's not that if anything, it shows the value in what it would have cost. And I know Dory didn't bring up the Warriors specifically in like, hey, how come the Warriors can't get some of those guys to come in and be role players? But I think it goes to the cost of those role players, right? Like Rudy Gobert was part of the cost to get two good role players when you were Utah. First-round picks were part of the cost to get role players like Vanderbilt and Beasley. The Lakers were willing to pay the price and also had the tradable, found a team that would take Westbrook and cut him as well, which I think is part of that. But the Lakers paid a premium to do that in terms of future draft capital.
And I think if Utah, real quickly, if they'd kept those guys, there's a very good chance they'd be in the play, and there's a very good chance they'd have a better record than Minnesota right now. But they're not interested
and that was
in sneaking into the play, and they're trying to rebuild the next great team in Utah.
Yeah, and it's funny, for all the conversation, and Dallas is the one outlier, but for all the conversation about who's better, who's worse, who could make, it's funny, as I look at the 5 teams on the outside looking in, and the 10 teams that are in the play-in tournament, I mean, Oklahoma City is a surprise, right? Oklahoma City's a surprise. I would say in terms of, they're in, Dallas is not. But and really it's Sacramento's the other surprise.
Yeah.
Sacramento basically took Dallas's spot in the top 8.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it, and then the Thunder took Sacramento. Like, I would have thought Sacramento would have been in the 7 to 10 range. That's Oklahoma City, but again, it's all in lieu of Dallas. Everything else is pretty much turned out on brand, with Houston and San Antonio were who we thought they were. The Blazers and Jazz ended up being who we thought they were, although maybe better record versions, at least in Utah's case, than what we thought they were. And Dallas wound up being, there's always that one team, I always say this every year, there's always that one team that thinks they're going to be good that winds up being a major disappointment. And this year it was the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of wanted to see them lose the play-in, but this is satisfying too. I don't care for that bunch.
All right, 888-957-9570. We'll come back. If you're on hold, stay on the line. We're getting to you right out of the chute. 2 hours in the books. It's JD and Whitey. It's Warriors this week on 95.7 The Game.
Did you know that most people wait 6 or 7 years before they buy a new TV? That's a lot of time in front of one TV. So why not get one of the best sets for the next 7 years, like one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony models? Too expensive? What if you could get up to $1,000 trade-in for your old set? Who would do a stupid deal like this? Right now, at Video Only, you can get big bucks for your old set as a trade-in and a hot price on the new models. Don't be sorry. Check out Video Only.
Growing a business brings pressure. It's not easy to maintain momentum and still keep employees engaged. Fortunately, there's Insperity. Their scalable HR solutions help me with hiring, training, HR administration, and compliance while giving my employees competitive benefit options. When my people are able to thrive, my business can adapt and prosper. With Insperity, nothing seems impossible. Insperity, HR that makes a difference.
It's Saturday, and this is Johnny Mosley with your Toyota Tahoe report. We have mixed conditions around the lake, but there's still great skiing to be had. Just hop in your Toyota and get up here.
Thanks, Johnny. Today we'll see a mix of clouds and sunshine throughout the day. It'll be a high of 47 degrees with light winds coming out of the south. The dry conditions will last through Sunday and into next week. This report has been brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Check out Toyota's full lineup of mountain-ready all-wheel drive vehicles. Toyota, let's go places.
Golfers, tee it up at the Golf Mart with the new 2023 Aerojet woods and irons from Cobra Golf. The new Aerojet woods are designed with a unique aerodynamic shape that delivers faster clubhead speeds for longer drives. And the new Aerojet irons are made with hot face technology, so every strike delivers more distance. Elevate your game by swinging into the Golf Mart and get custom fit on the new Cobra woods and irons today. The Golf Mart, unmatched expertise, unmatched service.
Hey fans, I'm breaking down MLB Play. I think they're the best MLB games. Now my personal favorite, Beat the Streak. Pick who you'll think will get a hit building your own streak. It's all on you, baby. You can win $5.6 million. The streak's alive! Next up, Pickle. Guess the player in the fewest number of tries. Got him! And there's other games like Bingo, a race to be first. Bingo, MLB Play. Great games, great prizes, and it's all free. No purchase necessary. Restrictions apply. See official rules and enter at MLB.com/play. Oh yeah!
Tune in to 95.7 The Game for Warriors Live, 60 minutes before tip-off of every Warriors game. Brought to you by the Next Generation 10G Network, only from Xfinity. The future starts now.
Payton, attorney spokesperson. Victims Justice Group is responsible for the content of this ad.
Attention. Mesothelioma is a rare and aggressive form of cancer that is caused by exposure to asbestos and causes devastating effects for thousands of people every year. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to a portion of the $30 billion in court-ordered trust fund money that has been set aside for mesothelioma patients and their families. Call the Victims Justice Group for a free consultation. 800-731-7925. Even if you smoked, many workers who were exposed to dangerous asbestos in the 1970s to now found found companies did little or nothing to protect workers. Asbestos can be found at job sites and industries such as factories, shipyards, construction, automotive, pipe fitter, industrial plants, and so much more. Call the Victims Justice Group now. 800-731-7925. The average mesothelioma claim is more than $1 million, and often payment is received in less than a year. Find out now what you may be entitled to. Call 800-731-7925. Call now to get the help and financial compensation you deserve. Call 800-731-7925. 800-731-7925.
News Team 5's News on the Fives. This just in. KFC is introducing new Kentucky Fried Chicken Nuggets. For more, here's Kelly Nichols.
Thanks, Gary. These KFC chicken nuggets are tender, juicy, and highly sauceable. As one team put it, no cap. These nuggies are straight fire. Gary?
Thanks, Kelly. Sounds bussin'. That does it for news. Order KFC's new hand-breaded chicken nuggets on the KFC app. You've never had nuggets like these. That's finger-licking good. Price and participation may vary.
Kelly Blue Book is the one-stop shop for pricing, fixing, selling, and instant cash offering. Instant Cash Offer is exactly what it sounds like. An official offer to buy or trade your car. Woohoo! Just enter your VIN or license plate, answer a few questions about your car's history, and what kind of condition it's in. In minutes, you'll receive an offer to sell or trade your car that you can be sure is fair. Then choose a dealer to purchase your car and schedule a time to meet. For all of the its, KBB.com.
Bay Area Panthers indoor football is back. Coach Arbet is back. Hard-hitting, fast-paced, in-your-face football and fun for the whole family. Don't miss watching your Bay Area Panthers at SAP, presented by Mary West Credit Union. Enter to win tickets at 957thegame.com.
It's April, and you know what that means? Taxes are almost due. Jackson Hewitt can help you win tax season. That's the sound of your maximum tax refund. The sound of getting 50% off tax prep. The sound of many of our competitors' prices going up. And the sound of getting to your nearest Jackson Hewitt. Hurry in for 50% off tax prep before this offer expires April 9th. Limited time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year, which means... Wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right now, I can earn twice the cash back.
Apparently. Wait! Unlimited first-year cash back match. Only from Discover. See terms and learn more at discover.com/match.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMC FM at HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
That'd be amazing. I don't know when that's ever happened. Has it happened?
No.
Yeah, that'd be special for the Northern California. I mean, King's got great fans. We got great fans. Mike B's got them boys playing together and hard, and that'd be really cool just for Northern California, which is a basketball hotbed at the moment, and it would be nice for the travel. That would be very nice. Really nice.
Now back to Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
All right, final hour. There's Klay Thompson talking about the potential for a Warriors-Kings playoff series, which is currently still the most likely scenario now with just over 24 hours to go. I'm looking at we're about 27 hours to go in the NBA regular season. Couple of big games this afternoon, one in particular, the Clippers and the Blazers playing at 1 o'clock. The Warriors are playing the Blazers tomorrow at 12:30. And still a number of different scenarios. I tweeted out the jelly bean color-coded Easter egg hunt style breakdown that the NBA put out of every possible scenario, 5 through 9, involving what's left over the next 2 days here. But there's still a lot of people that think the Clippers might tank to avoid Phoenix and drop the Warriors into playing.
It'll be hard for them, though, too. They could, but it'll be difficult, and it'll be a little risky if they do.
They could, but they would fall out of the top 6 themselves unless the Pelicans also lose tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pelicans are playing in Minnesota, and Minnesota, as long as Minnesota wins today against San Antonio, would be able to move ahead of the Pelicans with that win.
Yeah.
So it's all connected, and we'll see what happens in the 2 games today. If Minnesota slips up, I mean, hell, if the Clippers somehow can't beat Portland at home today, that will make things all the more interesting with the Warriors and the ability for them to be 5 versus 6. But a lot of people, including one on the Comcast Business text line, Whitey, saying, hey, you guys are talking about this Sacramento matchup a lot. The Clippers are going to tank. They don't want to play Phoenix. The Warriors are going to play Phoenix. We'll see about that.
Right.
Again, more risky than meets the eye because it's not a straight 5 versus 6. If it was a straight 5 versus 6, hey, Clippers win their 5, lose their 6, and the Warriors are 5. If it was straightforward, and it may become that, but if it was that straightforward, I absolutely think the Clippers would try to tank and play Sacramento. I think that's just in their nature. It's their DNA. But they're not going to know until, during their game whether that's even possible.
How do you lose if you're the Clippers 2 games to Portland and then the Suns when they're not playing their guys? You'd have to have hey, Ty Lue, you're playing point guard today. Yeah, I know there's ways to do it. But
if anybody could do it, Whitey, the Clippers could do it.
Clippers going to Clipper. Yep, you're right.
The most on-brand thing for the Clippers moving, between would be to tank for Sacramento, get Sacramento, and lose to Sacramento.
Yeah.
That would be the most on-brand thing for the Clippers.
That'd be a great series, too, because they played that, 176, 175 overtime, double overtime.
The Clippers, let me tell you, the Clippers would be the only team stupid enough to get beat by the Kings twice in the last month of the season, including that game that you're talking about, and still think that the Kings are the best matchup for them, target them, and then get beat by them.
Yeah,
that would be the most on-brand thing, although I think you could make a case that if Paul George doesn't come back, they've actually got a better chance to win that series because it'll force him to play harder than they'd have to play if he doesn't come back. But I digress. I promised phone calls. We got a lot to get into here. Final hour. Rich in Fremont. Save me from going on a Clipper rant, Rich. You're on 95.7 The Game.
JD, I tell you something. I've been listening to you guys, and unfortunately, I can't save you, man. I can't because I'm looking at this as well as you are. And, it's funny. You look at both the conferences, and, you look at them and you say to yourself, man, the West is the spiciest sports morsel of the 2 conferences because everything is just so close. But to your point, I think you're spot on. I don't think the Clippers tank. I think the Clippers are what we're seeing. It's kind of sad. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers and the Pelicans win and the Clippers lose, and the Clippers find themselves in the 9th spot, or something similar to that. Because when you look at the Lakers and the Pelicans, they're playing well. They're both 8-2. The Clippers are 5-5. So it's like, and then I don't know if it's because Paul George isn't in, but right now the Clippers look like the team that is just soft, and they're slipping at the wrong time, and this can get ugly for them. The other thing is, you were talking about Jordan Poole earlier, and I think his problem right now is that he's just trying to do too much. He needs to let the game come to him. In other words, do what you need to do to make the game comfortable for you. Don't try to overthink it. Don't try to overshoot. Don't try to do things that that doesn't bring your A game. Listen, guys, thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Appreciate it. And Rich, the scenario that he laid out where let's say the Clippers lose 1. If the Clippers lose 1 and the Lakers and the Pelicans both win, the Clippers would be 8th.
Yeah, but
the Warriors would move up to 5th, assuming they win, but the Clippers would be 8th. Go ahead, Whitey.
Well, I was just going to say, Rich is right, obviously. The Lakers are 8-2 in their last 10, and so are the Pelicans, but the Clippers did just beat the Lakers in a big
And
game.
they beat them 4 out of 4.
Yeah.
Both versions. The Clippers played the Clippers beat them when the Lakers had Westbrook. The Clippers beat them when the Clippers had Westbrook. It doesn't matter. It's not like the Kings who got to play Westbrook 6 times this season. And I think won every game.
I don't know.
Or 5.
I don't know how, if you're the Clippers, how you would lose. Oh, we got to lose to this Portland team, and then we got to lose to the Suns without playing anybody. I'm sure they could. I honestly don't want to think about what that would look like and how they would do that. So I hope it doesn't come to that.
I will say this as far as the game goes today for the Clippers. If you've watched the NBA regularly, which I know you do, The Clippers can lose to anybody in an afternoon game down at Staples or Crypto.com Arena. So to think, hey, Portland's tanking and they're playing nobody and they don't even want to win, like the Clippers can lose to anybody in an afternoon game at the arena formerly known as Staples Center down in LA. So I'm just saying, keep an eye on that one. Keep an eye, like don't count that one. Like everybody's talking about tomorrow and what do they do tomorrow? Like they could actually lose today, believe it or not. Like just when they're trying to win because they're just playing too cool.
Wow. Maybe so. I don't see it. Maybe I just don't want to see it. Maybe I just don't want it to come to that. All right.
Luke in San Francisco. What's going on, Luke?
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Good.
Awesome. Well, I've just got a couple of points after hearing for a while, so bear with me. So with Kuminga, I think his issue has been kind of like a QB Reed situation. You know, Curry, Clay, Draymond, Looney, even Dante with the fluidity of knowing what to do all the time on offense. And Kuminga, I feel, is struggling and hesitating when the first option isn't there. He's not sure whether to attack or whether to continue and pass the ball. And that split second is just killing him because it's giving, when he does attack, it's giving defenders enough time to react and get back into just enough position to disrupt him again. That was kind of my thing with the Warriors offense. The live ball turnovers for the Warriors, it's taken us out of the game, and it's unforced errors down the stretch. Like the Timberwolves' fourth quarter would be my example for that. Just an unreal last 4 minutes, and it wasn't because the Timberwolves clamped down on us. It was just unforced errors, and they've been doing that. And if they can just get that down and mitigate those, I think that'll put them in a great position. My next point was with Gobert and Sabonis, the comparison, I feel that they need to do what they do to Gobert in the Jazz series of past years to Sabonis to kind of take him out of the game and not let him be. I know he's a better offensive player than Gobert is and probably not as good a defender, but, they just need to kind of get him into that role where he never really clicks with the team and figures out what he's doing in the series because it just kind of keeps rotating. And then my last point was I feel the Warriors were kind of the disappointment in the West, not as much Dallas. All of our young players were kind of supposed to take that next proverbial step, and none really have except for maybe Kuminga. And you could almost argue that Jordan Poole has kind of regressed, and Moody a little bit too, and obviously Wiseman didn't work out. But those were my points, guys. Have a great day. Take care, guys.
There's no doubt you have to put the Warriors in the category of disappointment. Similarly, I think to the Lakers, Clippers, and Suns before they got Durant for a lot of different reasons. I mean, it's why the standings are as they are, here down the stretch. A good point on Kuminga too. I think as far as that first read and knowing what to do, I will say this, and again, a lot of people coming down my road on the Comcast business text line, as they always do with Kuminga, when I am critical of him, I think because people are just, it's like, oh my gosh, you can't criticize Kuminga for anything. I think he's been pretty good. He's been pretty good. I think he's been pretty good at figuring out some of the cuts and reads and think that's why he's played better. Like I sometimes I feel like people don't really understand that he's played better offensively over the last month in a lot of these games because he's doing it in the framework of the Warriors offense and not doing it because he's being unleashed, so to speak. If that makes sense. I think a lot of people take his production and misrepresent it as him being unleashed. Yeah. They're unleashing the rookie that's spreading his wings and flying and dominating. And it's like, no, he's actually playing like Gary Payton II. in the Warriors offense.
To that point, I heard a stat recently that Kuminga, the more minutes he has, the better he plays. And I'm sure there are some people that would look at that and say, see, Steve Kerr needs to play him more. It's like, no. That's not how it works. He plays more because he's playing better. If he's playing poorly, they're not going to give him more minutes. He plays more because he's playing better. He doesn't play better because he's playing more. So that's the whole key with him. And again, for all the back and forth about him and where this is all going to go, I think we all agree. And Luke made the comment. He's been a positive this year, but that's the biggest reason why they're not as far along right now as they hoped they'd be, is because the young players. That was a plan this year. The young players were going to step up, and they were going to give them some of the things that guys like Otto Porter game last year didn't work out, and they're working that out. But that's why overall they've been a disappointment. Just real quick, as we talk about Portland playing the Clippers today and then the Warriors tomorrow, Portland, this Thursday, this was their starting lineup, JD. I know we got to get back to the phones. John Butler, Jonathan Williams, Drew Eubanks, who had a big game, Skylar Mays, and Trendon Watford. And I will say, they only lost by 2 to San Antonio. But that's the team that the Clippers, even if they wanted to lose to that team, I don't know that they could.
Well, look, they almost that's also the team that beat Minnesota 6 days ago. That's also the team that hung with Memphis a little bit. Like they have been. I'm not making the case for Portland, but I guess I am kind of making the case.
Well,
they've been.
Chauncey Billups says
the Clippers.
Chauncey Billups says these guys don't even know each other, to be honest with you. He says I just tell them to play fast. So it'll be interesting to see. It's just hard to imagine them giving the Clippers or the Warriors any problem. But you're right. The Clippers, you never know with the freaking Clippers. You never know.
888-957-9570. Eric in San Francisco next year on 95.7 The Game. What's up, Eric?
Hey, guys. Hey, good afternoon, guys.
Hello.
Sorry if you addressed this in the 10 o'clock hour, but I was wondering what your thoughts are about Jordan Poole being the most important, not valuable, but important player for the playoffs. Because Wiggins is going to be working his way in, and when Poole can get going, he can carry that second unit. But if Poole plays like he did last night, we see the 17-point lead go down to 1. We see the 20-point lead go down to, 8 or 10? And it kind of seems like we need the Poole who played so well in the Denver and Memphis series, and not the Poole who was tentative in the Dallas series. So I was thinking that Poole may be our most important player for the playoffs if we're going to make a run. I'll take your thoughts offline. Thanks.
He's up there. I mean, you're not going to get much disagreement with me. I don't know about Poole carrying the second unit. I think that's where, again, I look at last night, and he was not good, but Poole was okay at the beginning of that stretch when he was playing with starters. You can't play Poole with Moody and Kuminga and Looney and DiVincenzo and say carry the group. Like, that's just not going to work. And so, that's not going to work against the Kings with Fox and Sabonis. It didn't work against the Kings last night. It doesn't work against Phoenix. It doesn't work against anybody, Whitey. So, that all has to be evaluated there.
Don't you think, JD, in a perfect world, and dear listener, if I have Wiggins back at some point and he's Wiggins, then and Poole is having one of those games like he had last night, it's like, man, he's just not helping me. I've got other options because DiVincenzo can take some of the Poole minutes. Yeah, so that's the upside to having Wiggins back. You wouldn't have to rely, in theory, as much on Poole if you were having one of those games. And I think Mike Brown and the Kings may have a better shot at shutting him down than other teams, but that would be a good luxury to have.
No doubt. I think that is one thing, but again, it comes down to other options, comes down to finishing lineups as well, which was something that our guy Sri brought up earlier in his number of things. Like, he hasn't been in the closing lineup 3 of the last 5. Like, Jordan Poole is not a made dude in terms of being in the closing lineup. I mean, and Wiggins does factor into this, Whitey, but we always talk about it. Steph and Clay and Wiggins and Draymond, if they're all whole and who, the best version is of themselves and able to play, that's 4 of the closing 5. And the 5th could be Poole, It could be Looney. It could be DiVincenzo. It could be Payton. I think Steve Kerr showed us last night if Payton can play into the 20s in terms of minutes. And I think even a fifth option could be Kuminga on a night where if Kuminga is playing well and is effective, he could be somebody that could be in that closing lineup. So who is the fifth among the closers, I think, is a storyline for the Warriors as the playoffs get ready to begin here.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with Poole, which Poole you get on a given night. If it's the Poole that's making the poor decisions, to me, if I'm a coach, I can't trust him on the floor, especially in a big game, given the other options I have.
Let's go to Duck Sauce.
Yeah.
Next year on 95.7 The Game. What's going on, Duck Sauce?
How are you, Duck Sauce?
Hey, Whitey, JD, good to talk to you guys. Really cool meeting you guys.
Yeah, it was
back.
awesome.
I just wanted to thank you both for all your hard work throughout this season because the week-to-week's been hectic. You guys actually gave me some sanity, every week, so thank you both for that. I just wanted to give a couple takes. One on the Kuminga thing. I do agree that the pull-up into the mid-range looks a lot more fluent, but the three, and to his credit, he has been knocking down the wide-open ones, but you're not really, I don't think you can really shoot the ball until you can do it with fluidity, meaning how fast you can do it, and he still can't do it fast to me. That's the big thing. Not to say that won't come because I'm a big fan of him. I think he's going to be a really good player still, but as far as the three ball for now, until he can do it quickly, to me, he can't really shoot it. Same thing, with even great players like Ja Morant. I don't respect his three. I don't think he can do it fast. He can do everything else on the court fast, but he can't do that quickly. The other thing I wanted to say is, not to jump ahead, but if we do get the Kings, I want to see if Sabonis can finish through contact, because I know he had one game even against us this year where he had about, I think, 20 points, 20 rebounds or something like that. So I do respect him, but just the eye test to me, he has trouble finishing through physicality, and that plays into Draymond's hands big time. So when the refs put the whistles away, for the playoffs, I want to see if that plays in our favor, and I'm hoping it does. The last thing I want to say is, this Denver record would have been good enough for fourth place last year. So this thing's wide open, and it's go time, fellas. So
good points.
Yeah, thanks Duck Sauce. No, good stuff there, without a doubt. And yes, Sabonis. Good defensive centers have limited Sabonis a little bit at the rim. I know there were a couple times Gobert lately, but again, that's Gobert. Had Walker Kessler had a really nice game against Sabonis where he stopped him at the rim a little bit, and that is a key. Paint touches are a big part of Mike Brown's offense. They run high post stuff. They run a lot of the Bogut stuff. I know Steve Kerr mentioned that last night, how he sees a lot of what the Warriors would run with Bogut back in the day in the stuff that Brown runs with the Kings, and the dribble handoffs and the high post and the cutting. I mean, they really have taken a lot of the Kings offense and put it to work with what they're doing in Sacramento. But yeah, physicality has been a question for Sabonis, and the ability to just defend both ways have been the knocks on him. Hasn't really been an issue this year, where he's been kind of a mini Jokic in a lot of ways this year with the passing and running the offense through him and dominant play. I think he had a double-double in over 70 of their games.
He's been amazing.
He had a double-double in.
Yeah, and the word around the league on him is
that.
To your point, JD, I'm sorry, but as you say, word on him is that he's a willing defender, but not necessarily a very good one. But he's been a contributing defender this year. I don't know if you saw the Dallas game, but teams are starting to do some things with him. Not to get too wonky, but it may come down to this with the Warriors, where on the catch they're blitzing him more, and he hadn't seen a lot of that this year. And the Kings have had some issues with that. And so I would be quite surprised if we don't see more of that from the Warriors. Also, we know the Warriors like to play zone. The Kings at times have struggled this year with the zone. But the Kings is like they have one offense for 3 quarters. You go through Sabonis. Then the fourth quarter, like, De'Aaron, where are you? So it's really interesting.
Yes.
It's like they have plan A and then plan B, which is fourth quarter specific for De'Aaron Fox.
No, that's a great call. You're right. They run everything kind of it's kind of like the Warriors running their open, offense. And then, but in the fourth quarter, it's a lot of pick and roll. It's a lot of just give it to Fox and let him get in transition and try and pull up from 10 to 17 feet or get all the way to the bucket. That you're right. It is two different offenses, and that's why Fox has been the best fourth quarter player in the NBA in terms of scoring to this point this season. All right, 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Let's go to Rich in Oakland next here on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Rich.
Hey, I have a question about Wiggins coming back. I was wondering whether you could remind me how important he was to last year's playoff run, because I remember thinking the Western Conference Finals, he was the best player overall, and I don't think the Warriors stopped Tatum without Wiggins. And then he was really important rebounding because, especially now he would be really important because Otto Porter was a very good rebounder. They don't have that kind of size. And from what I've heard, Wiggins is coming back a lot leaner, lighter. He doesn't seem as muscular. And I don't see how he puts on the muscle in a week to really plug the holes on the boards and the kind of physical defense they need. And if he was really that important, which I think he was, like there's no championship run last year without him, where do the Warriors stand? Even if Wiggins is, coming back and playing good minutes.
Well, it gets a lot harder. I'll say that, Rich. As far as you could make a case last year, Whitey, that he was the second best player in the playoffs for the Warriors, top to bottom, after Steph. Like, to me, that's not an unfair statement. Like, it was Steph. Who was the Warriors' best player in the playoffs? Steph. Who was their second best player in the playoffs? Wiggins. Like, we could have a legitimate debate about that. So he was hugely important as far as that goes. I don't know about the body type. I know just from watching him in the press conference the other night before the home finale against the Thunder, I know a lot of people did make the point that he looks leaner or thinner or however you want to characterize it. I don't know. I don't know how that impacts things, but he was a hell of a rebounder in the playoffs, and he just was kind of a do-it-all guy. I mean, he's the one guy, Whitey, that we've talked a lot about, is it going to be the Kings? Is it going to be Phoenix? If the Warriors lose, it could be somebody else. But, Wiggins is the one guy who would guard Durant if it's Durant. He would guard Kawhi if it's Kawhi. But he would also guard Fox or John Morant if it's Sacramento or Memphis in a lot of ways as the primary. So he is the most important defender, I think, in many ways, because they've been so tough to be able to defend on the point of attack.
And if the Warriors do have a chance to contend for another championship, that's why. It's because defensively, if they get Wiggins back and you have Payton and DiVincenzo's playing well, and we know that Kuminga has improved defensively this year, they're a different team than they were, when they were really struggling on that Southeast road trip in November. That would be why. And Steve Kerr has said that. What's the problem? Defense. We know they had a lot of problems. We've talked about this guy's development, that guy's development, but they are a different team defensively right now, especially if Wiggins is back. And that is the reason why they still have a chance to compete for another title.
888-957-9570. More phone calls ahead. Final segment. It's Warriors This Week, our final regular season segment on 95.7 The Game.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Attention facility professionals, property managers, and building owners. Earn free education credits and network with the top professionals by attending the West Coast Buildings and Facilities Management Conference this May 23rd and 24th at the Alameda County Fairgrounds in Pleasanton. Sponsored by BOMA, IFMA, ABC, and NECA. This event is your one-stop shop for all things buildings and facilities throughout the Bay Area. Register to attend today and receive free lunch and parking. This event is free for all qualified professionals. Register online at proexpos.com. That's PROEXPOS.com.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity.
What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
It's Saturday, and this is Johnny Mosley with your Toyota Tahoe report. We have mixed conditions around the lake, but there's still great skiing to be had. Just hop in your Toyota and get up here.
Thanks, Johnny. Today we'll see a mix of clouds and sunshine throughout the day. It'll be a high of 47 degrees with light winds coming out of the south. The dry conditions will last through Sunday and into next week. This report has been brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Check out Toyota's full lineup of mountain-ready all-wheel drive vehicles. Toyota, let's go places.
U.S. Bank is ranked #1 in customer satisfaction with retail banking in California by J.D. Power. Since California is home to most award shows, we've prepared a thank you speech.
To Californians everywhere, we've been proud to help you plan, budget, and save smarter. Our goal tracking and budgeting tools would have no place to shine if it weren't for you, and we can't thank you enough for that. And thank you to our real-life humans who go above and beyond for our customers every day. Bravo, U.S. Bank! Bravo!
For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Member FDIC.
It's April, and you know what that means? Taxes are almost due. Jackson Hewitt can help you win tax season. That's the sound of your maximum tax refund. The sound of getting 50% off tax prep. The sound of many of our competitors' prices going up. And the sound of getting to your nearest Jackson Hewitt. Hurry in for 50% off tax prep before this offer expires April 9th. Limited time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms.
When you grill with Kingsford charcoal and add Kingsford garlic, onion, and paprika flavor boosters, your special occasion becomes unforgettable. Wow. Made with 100% real spices, Kingsford garlic, onion, and paprika flavor boosters can be added to any pre-lit charcoal to add a whole new, rich, full-bodied flavor and aroma to your spring grilling. So good. Look for Kingsford charcoal and Kingsford garlic, onion, and paprika flavor boosters for a mouth-watering flavor experience. Kingsford.com.
95.7 The Game is an equal opportunity employer, and we encourage local community organizations to refer qualified applicants to us. You can receive The Game and Odyssey job vacancy information by contacting Human Resources at 415-765-4011 or by emailing sfhr@odyssey.com.
Payton II, attorney spokesperson. Victims Justice Group is responsible for the content of this ad.
Attention. Mesothelioma is a rare and aggressive form of cancer that is caused by exposure to asbestos and causes devastating effects for thousands of people every year. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to a portion of the $30 billion in court-ordered trust fund money that has been set aside for mesothelioma patients and their families. Call the Victims Justice Group for a free consultation. 800-731-7925. Even if you smoked, many workers who were exposed to dangerous asbestos in the 1970s to now found companies did little or nothing to protect workers. Asbestos can be found at job sites and industries such as factories, shipyards, construction, automotive, pipe fitter, industrial plants, and so much more. Call the Victims Justice Group now. 800-731-7925. The average mesothelioma claim is more than $1 million, and often payment is received in less than a year. Find out now what you may be entitled to. Call 800-731-7925. Call now to get the help and financial compensation you deserve. Call 800-731-7925. 800-731-7925.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter code JOY at checkout. That's harrys.com, code JOY. Enjoy!
special. I mean, my earliest memories of the NBA are in Portland, in the Rose Garden at the Coliseum. My dad being a Blazer, I love going up there and just loved watching Rasheed and Damon and Arvydas. I mean, those teams were special in my heart. A lot of heartbrokenness, though, when we lost the Lakers in West Finals, but just some glorious times. I mean, I saw Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen play in '98. I'll never forget that, and just really enjoyed going to the games up there. And I was so blessed to be able to accompany my dad to those best memories.
Now back to Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
Klay Thompson talking about the Warriors finishing the season in Portland tomorrow. I like going up to Portland during the playoff runs. But the Warriors played in Portland in 16, 17, and 19 in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
And that run over, and obviously McCollum now with the Pelicans, and now Dame. Is he going to finally ask out of Portland? It sounds like Chauncey Billups is probably going to get fired, and rightfully so. So, a lot of change. Portland tried to do it a couple of different ways. They felt like they reached the end of the line with Dame and CJ, broke them up. End of the line with Terry Stotts, haven't been better for that move. And then, they go get Jeremy Grant. They do have some young talent. Shadon Sharp is a really good young player. Anthony Simons is a nice player, although I think he's more of a Jordan Poole offense only type of a player. And we'll see. I mean, they've called off the Dogs. They could be a team that if they somehow got lucky and that mid-lottery group has hit and moved up a lot in recent years. If Portland somehow were able to get Wembanyama, they would have action immediately, as a lot of teams would. But them and Utah are the two where it's like, you get Wembanyama, you could be a playoff team as soon as maybe next year.
Real quick, I got a question for you. I know we got to get to the phones, and if you don't have an answer now, I'll revisit it. So just let me throw it out there based on Klay's comments. You got Klay, his dad played, and of course Steph and his dad played. Klay was talking about Arvydas Sabonis' son, Domantas, playing maybe the Warriors see them coming up here. If you took all the father-son combos in NBA history and you had both the father and the son at the peak of their abilities, who would win a 2-on-2 tournament? And again, like I said, I'll come back, give you time to think about that, unless you have an answer off the top of your head. But you'd have, Rick Barry and probably Brent, Klay, and Michael would be good. I've had some people say the Sabonis's would be really tough to beat. I don't know. Arvydas was a really good player. But I'll ask you next time, if I think of it, what you think there, if you have an answer to that. Who would be the all-time 2-on-2 father-son NBA tourney winner?
Two skilled 7-footers with the Sabonises.
Yeah, very skilled. I
mean, 7-footers that could pass and put it on the deck and
shoot a little bit too. Yeah,
and shoot it a little bit as well. I mean, that's a good one. I would say. I mean, if you're getting peak Michael Thompson, that'd
be my pick. I think is Klay and his daddy.
Yeah. I would say peak Michael Thompson, and I never really saw peak Michael Thompson. That was kind of before my time. But I think I might lean Klay and peak Michael Thompson.
Yeah,
as the father-son combo.
Yeah, 2-on-2. Dad, get me the ball. Rebound, defend, let him get me. That's all Michael would have to do, right? Give me the ball so I can shoot threes, Dad, and I'll take care of you. Yeah.
We're going to get back to the phones here. I also, we've been talking a lot about the scenarios, of course. And if the Warriors win, they're going to be 5 or 6, depending upon what happens with the Clippers. Clippers have 2 games left, including one that's going to start top of next hour against Portland. The whole who do you want to play conversation, Whitey, has been there, Phoenix or Sacramento, because those are the 2 most likely opponents that the Warriors will face based on the math and the percentages as far as how things shake out, assuming the Clippers play it, straight up. Would the Clippers tank a game? Risky. We've gotten into all that. There's one more question for you that's independent of all of that I want to ask you, which we'll get to here coming up on 95.7 The Game. But we do want to get back to the phones. A lot of people patiently waiting, so let's get through it quickly here. And still time to sneak in a couple of more at 888-957-9570. But let's get back to it with Jonathan in San Francisco here on 95.7 The Game. What's going on, Jonathan?
Hey, happy Saturday, JD and Whitey. I don't know if you guys remember, about 25 games ago, I called you guys that one Saturday and told you guys, Warriors, I want them to be 500 in the 15 first games, 25 games remaining, and then finish strong. And I think I'm one win away, the last win of the regular season, for my prediction to be right. Because I told you guys I wanted to go at least 8-2, last 10 games, head into the playoffs, nice and hot. So I'm feeling real good about our Warriors, man. I feel like we're about to see some real fun in the playoffs, and I don't care about the other teams. I just know that my Dubs are rounding into form. Let's go, Dubs!
Well, Jonathan, thanks for the call, and we appreciate the spirit. Jonathan actually was reading my mind as to the question that I was going to throw at you, which is, for all of the talk about all the other stuff, are the Warriors playing their best basketball at the right time? They've won 7 of 9. Tomorrow would be 8 of 10. They're a season high, 5 games over 500. Tomorrow would be a season high if they win 6 games over at the end of the season. 8 of 10 would be among their best stretches. They had a 10-3, 10-4 stretch back early in the season after they got off to the 3-7 start when they were relatively whole. But are we burying the lead? And because the bad nights have been ugly and some of the good nights haven't been pretty, that the Warriors are playing their best basketball right now. And they're getting Wiggins back.
They are, and they've put a lot of the dysfunctional things that plagued them all year long behind them. Going back to, we all know what they were, the punch, and young players not perform. All these things that seem to be tripping this team up. Defense was one of them. They still have issues with turnovers, and I know they had a road win last night, but they're even playing better on the road. So that's another thing heading into the postseason. Some of those clouds that were hanging over them, other than, you got Bob Myers' situation, things next year. But right now, it looks like, all right, we're fully focused as a team now on basketball, and they are playing their best basketball of the year. So I understand Jonathan's enthusiasm, and hey, good for him if he called this. I don't doubt that he did.
Let's keep it moving on the phone lines. 888-957-9570. No Cap in Oakland. What's going on, No Cap?
Hey, what's going on, JD and Whitey?
Hey.
What's going on, man?
Y'all hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, well, we got you, No Cap. What's on your mind?
Okay. All right. I was going to say, I think that JP should start doing the Kings series because the Kings aren't good defensively anyway. So I think that Poole could really attack them and get to the cup. And, yeah, I think it'll be – it kind of reminds me of that Denver series from last year. I think he'd be good starting. And also, I was going to say, the diehard Dubs fan, I do not think that the Warriors will beat the Kings, to be 100% honest with you. I just think the offense is just too much to overcome with the decline of Clay, and I don't know what's Clay going to get from night to night and the lack of shooting on the roster. I don't think Steph is enough, and I don't know what I'm going to get from Poole either. So, and also, my last question I would have to ask is Whitey. Whitey, I always see you drinking Pepsis. How many Pepsis do you go through a week? Have a good one, guys.
I'll answer that. Not nearly as many as I used to. I don't drink it a lot other than and I only have one today. JD knows, he's worked with me. There was a time when you wouldn't believe the answer to that, No Cap. Yeah. But now I probably don't even do a 6-pack a week at this point.
There was a time way back in the day. Do you mind me saying? I mean, there was a time where I may have exaggerated it in my mind, but in your morning show days, I want to say there was a time where you would bring a cooler of maybe 6 in for a show.
Yeah, and didn't usually
like a 4-hour show.
Yeah, didn't usually get through that, but I think it would happen. Yeah.
Like you'd have a little one of those little coolers, and there'd be like a 6-pack of Pepsi in the cooler, and you would just kind of one by one through a 4-hour show.
And then I wondered why.
Oh my gosh,
I had some trouble sleeping. Then JD, and I'd wonder how come I'm not sleeping better. What's going on? Yeah, it took me a while to sort that out. Yeah,
when you're doing a morning show though, and you've done morning show for a long time. How many years you've done a morning show? In your career, a lot
20,
of years.
I think more than 20 years of morning shows, radio.
So you need a few Pepsis.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
To get you through doing a morning show. But yeah, as far as the Sacramento matchup, to go back to No Cap, is no picnic, and I think that is the best way to put it. And, it's the offensively, I don't think they've been given enough credit for. It's not just, hey, they have a really good offense, and they don't defend, and there are ways the Warriors can exploit them. And I do think the Warriors win a series against Sacramento if the Warriors play buttoned up, but it's still not going to be easy. I don't see any real scenario where it's not a 6 or a 7-game series at this point. But we're talking about a historically great offense. It's not just, hey, everybody scores more, so the Kings are scoring more, and they're doing it better than everybody. This is over the last, we're talking offensive rating per 100 possessions, the best offense in the last 49 years in the NBA, Whitey.
Yeah, and I know some people say, well, yeah, and I think you made this point, well, the Kings aren't defending. Well, nobody defends, but it's still, relatively speaking, some teams, the better teams, typically are still defending better than some of the lesser teams. And as great as the Kings are offensively, their own coach, Mike Brown, has said many times, he said, we can't guard people. We're very bad defensively. They've shown some improvement in that area. They've oddly been better on the road defensively, which is really unusual. But, there have been so many unusual things like that this year with all the NBA teams. We're still figuring that one out. But in short, if they don't defend better, it's hard for me to imagine them even winning a series. And it's been a challenge for them. They admit that. Mike Brown wants them to be grittier and defend better, and they're going to have to. For as wonderful as the season has been for them, like the beam, it's been great. They have to play better defense or they're not going to have a chance of accomplishing anything.
888-957-9570. Back to the phones we go. Ryan here in traffic on a Saturday on 95.7 The Game. That's no fun.
Hey, guys.
What's going on,
good
Ryan?
to talk to you again. I agree. I think really the only convenience about playing Sacramento is that, hey, it's just down the road. Like, travel is less than what you're expecting to do in the Western Conference. But the truth is like, they're going to be tough. They're going to wear you down. It's like you said, they're going to definitely take us game after game, maybe 6 or 7. I think we know what this team is capable of. Whether or not we have to play Phoenix, LA, or Sacramento in the first round, it's no big deal. I think it's time to test just how good this brand of basketball the Warriors are playing. I think getting GP2 back really boosted a lot of confidence defensively and, maybe even put them back into a comfortable place and rhythm. So maybe that's why we're seeing better basketball on the road. I'm glad that they were able to continue to get these wins on the road despite it just being up the road in Sacramento. But we'll see tomorrow, too, with Portland. And I think it'd be great, though, at least to give Andrew Wiggins the time to have that rest off before the play-in tournament. I don't know. Do you think that he needs to hit the weight room again, or do you think mostly that he's been getting his reps in on the floor is the most important part?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Ryan. I don't think there's much to the weight thing.
Not at this point.
I know people have pointed it out. I mean, let's see him play first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know people like, oh, what's going on and all of that. And it had been reported that it was, something with his father. I know he chose not to address that, but a very serious thing with Shams, who had that nugget earlier in the week. And so, again, all the best to Wiggins and his family as he makes his return to the team. But let's see how he is on the floor before we start overanalyzing, what kind of shape he's in, or does he need to bulk up, or any of that kind of stuff.
Well, would there even be time for him to bulk up for this playoff run? Yeah, I mean,
but I also don't think you lose as much. And somebody pointed this out on the text line. I also don't think you lose, a significant amount of your mass in 6 weeks either.
Right. Real quick here, the worst teams in the NBA this season so far in defensive rating: San Antonio's last, Houston's 29th, Detroit 28th, Portland 27th, Indiana 26th, and then Sacramento. So if there's a weakness there, that's where the Warriors have to take advantage. Yeah.
You gotta make them pay. Like, that's the thing. Like, you're not gonna shut them down. Like, I don't care how. Like, you're not, to me, and in a crazy way, Whitey, that matchup is more about your offense. For as great as their offense is, the Kings' offense, it's really, can your offense do enough to not only match them, but also to where your offensive mistakes don't fuel their already great offense that's going to be hard to slow down, even if you are playing good defense. And that's where I think the game gets dicey for the Warriors a little bit. Not that they can't do it. Again, I'm right now as I sit here, and we won't have. Well, I guess we would have time to do it on this show next week because the playoffs will not start until we're off the air next week on Saturday. But if I'm sitting here today and picking that series, I would pick Warriors in 7. So I'm not saying they can't win it, but I'm just saying that they do pose some challenges. Like the Warriors are going to have to be a really good freaking version of themselves to beat Sacramento.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
As far as next Saturday, I mean, we'll see because we don't know who's going to be playing, right? I mean, we don't know what the playoff schedule is because it starts next Saturday, right? But yeah, it's always this way in the playoffs, but extra possessions will be so vitally important, especially in this series. So you're right. You don't want to turn – this is great offense. You don't want to give them extra chances by turning the ball over. And I think second chance points are going to be huge in this series. And Kevon Looney's offensive rebounding is going to be a really, really important thing for the Warriors against the Kings. If they end up playing them. I know it's not a done deal yet.
Couple of people checking in on the father-son combinations on the Comcast business text line, Whitey.
Yeah.
You went with Clay and Michael Thompson. The 650 says nobody would score on the Paytons, meaning Gary and Gary Payton II. So that's a nod for the Paytons. Nobody would score on the Paytons. Fair. Our buddy Greg in San Francisco, Kobe and his dad would be excellent. That's a really good call.
Yeah.
As well. And the 510, no consideration for the greatest father-son combination for Mike Dunleavy Sr. and Mike Dunleavy Jr. Now, I don't remember Mike Dunleavy Sr., the player,
shoot.
Whitey.
He could shoot, JD. He could shoot it.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was in our time gap there. But yeah.
What about Bill Walton and his son who used to coach the Warriors? What do you think they would do as a tandem?
Not enough.
I tend to agree. They would be
not enough.
Yeah, they wouldn't be seated very well in the tournament.
That's my answer. Not enough. And then the ultimate 510, the ultimate disrespect. What about Dell and Steph Curry? You're not including the greatest shooting father-son combination ever. Dell and Steph could be in our play-in tournament of father-son combinations.
Yeah, they'd definitely be in there. I think they'd have issues defensively. But if Steph makes everything, it's not going to matter.
No doubt. I think they would have issues defensively. The Wiggins could join the tournament.
Lonzo and LeVar just got a nomination.
Well, LeVar didn't play in the NBA though.
Pace and Nico Mannion getting a little bit of run too. So
Rick Barry and his sons. That's a whole team.
Brent and Scooter and John. Yeah.
Yeah, the Barrys win the 5-on-5 game.
Yeah.
The Barrys win the 5-on-5. The Currys win the 3-on-3. The Barrys win the 5-on-5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Manute and Bol. Yeah. Manute could sling it. Yeah. And they'd have great rim protection. So, we'll never know, but it'd be fun. Yeah.
These are great. I mean, what a perfect way to close out the show. Manute and Bol would be dynamic.
Yeah.
I want to see Manute and Bol play against Arvydas and Domantas Sabonis.
Mm-hmm. My
goal. Give me the 7-foot bracket, the 7-foot plus bracket.
My goal is to talk to some people that would know and talk to some of the people that would be involved in maybe on Father's Day, one way or the other, actually having some sort of, poll result or something on who the winner of this tournament would be. But these are some great suggestions. LeBron and Bronny. I don't think Bronny qualifies yet, but I was thinking of LeBron and Bronny as well.
No, they could definitely be in the conversation here within the next couple of years. Wrapping things up here, and we'll see what happens. Again, just reiterating, if the Warriors win tomorrow, they can be no worse than 6th, no better than 5th. It depends on what happens with the Clippers. Clippers have 2 games. They're playing in about 20 minutes against Portland, who the Warriors play tomorrow. That game is down in L.A., and then the Clippers play in Phoenix against the Suns, who are going to rest everybody among their big players tomorrow as they're locked into the 4 seed. A Warriors win and 2 Clipper wins equals the Warriors are 6. A Warriors win and a Clipper loss in either of these final 2, and the Warriors are 5. 5 means you play Phoenix. 6 means you play Sacramento, as the Kings are now locked into the 3. We didn't talk really much about this today, but I did want to get your thoughts on what did you make of Mike Brown not playing his guys against the Warriors? I found it to be interesting, and if they do wind up playing each other, I do think you could make the case it was a statement of either, one, we want you, meaning the Kings want the Warriors, and or two, we're not afraid of you. We're just going to let it happen as it happens. I think that adds some spice and some gamesmanship to this playoff series if it winds up coming to fruition here in the next 25, 26 hours.
My guess would be that Mike Brown's smart enough to know not to poke the bear at all. I don't know that there'd be upside there.
Did he?
Well, I don't know. To me, the reasoning was purely tactical. And I understand what you're saying, and maybe you're right, and maybe it was a message more to his own team. And if they get riled up, if the Warriors get riled up about it, I don't care. I want to send this message to us that we're not afraid of them. But I think it was just tactically is like they have to play. They have to win this game. They have to play hard. We're going to see how they do that. We don't have to do that. Some of our bench players that aren't going to play a lot in a series against them, they're going to play a lot in this game tonight. And as you said, I mean, if the Kings were to win that game, it'd be like, wow, tremendous. If they lose, no big deal. A lot of fans up there were very disappointed. There were a lot of Warrior fans up there as well, right, JD? But I think it was tactical from the Kings standpoint. It's like, we don't have to show you anything, but you have to win this game, so advantage Kings potentially.
I'm with you. It was they make it a zero upside mind bleep game, as I called it early when we touched on it a little bit. But I also think it is interesting. I do think the Warriors can take some offense to it if it winds up being that matchup. I'm not saying they will, but if they wanted to, I think they could. One final, we've got a mom-son combination. What about JaVale and Pam McGee?
Sure.
Pam McGee, great player.
Once again, they'd be in the 7-foot bracket, right? Yeah.
They'd be in the 7-foot bracket with the Sabonises and the Bulls.
Yeah.
So, good stuff there. Whitey, awesome, man. We'll talk our playoff preview.
Woohoo!
Next Saturday.
Yes.
We'll be leading up, hopefully, to Game 1. It's not a lock yet, but hopefully we're talking about Game 1 to be played Saturday or Sunday. I will be on hand wherever it is. Phoenix, Memphis, Sacramento, wherever it is.
Boots on the ground. Yep, that's what you do.
We'll be talking to you from there, hopefully, next Saturday from 10 to 1. For Craig Valentino, who's back from the Final Four, and Whitey Gleason, I'm John Dickinson. Fox Sports Radio's next here on 95.7 The Game.
Did you know that most people wait 6 or 7 years before they buy a new TV? That's a lot of time in front of one TV. So why not get one of the best sets for the next 7 years, like one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony models? Too expensive? What if you could get up to $1,000 trade-in for your old set? Who would do a stupid deal like this? Right now, at Video Only, you can get big bucks for your old set as a trade-in and a hot price on the new models. Don't be sorry. Check out Video Only.
I'm Howard Mackler, founder of Innovation Refunds. You've heard me talking about the payroll tax refund for months. If you own a business, even if you've asked your CPA about this, you owe it to yourself to take another look. We provide a licensed and insured tax attorney who evaluates your company at my expense to determine eligibility. Businesses of all types can qualify, so go to getrefunds.com to potentially get a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee. Download the Innovation Refunds app or go to getrefunds.com. Getrefunds.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. We have the pads, rotors, drums, shoes, and brake fluids to improve your stopping power. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with a set of Duralast brake pads. Missing a tool? Ask about our free Loan-A-Tool program and borrow the tools you need to get the job done.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the MPD Group 2021. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool.
Payton attorney spokesperson. Victims Justice Group is responsible for the content of this ad.
Attention. Mesothelioma is a rare and aggressive form of cancer that is caused by exposure to asbestos and causes devastating effects for thousands of people every year. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to a portion of the $30 billion in court-ordered trust fund money that has been set aside for mesothelioma patients and their families. Call the Victims Justice Group for a free consultation. 800-731-7925. Even if you smoked, many workers who were exposed to dangerous asbestos in the 1970s to now found companies did little or nothing to protect workers. Asbestos can be found at job sites and industries such as factories, shipyards, construction, automotive, pipe fitter, industrial plants, and so much more. Call the Victims Justice Group now. 800-731-7925. The average mesothelioma claim is more than $1 million, and often payment is received in less than a year. Find out now what you may be entitled to. Call 800-731-7925. Call now to get the help and financial compensation you deserve. Call 800-731-7925. 800-731-7925.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter code JOY at checkout. That's harrys.com, code JOY. Enjoy.
Bay Area Panthers indoor football is back. Coach Arbet is back. Hard-hitting, fast-paced, in-your-face football and fun for the whole family. Don't miss watching your Bay Area Panthers at SAP, presented by Mary West Credit Union. Enter to win tickets at 957thegame.com.
Are you working way too hard for way too little? There's never been a better time to consider a career in IT. You could enjoy a recession-resistant career in a rewarding field with plenty of growth opportunities and often flexible work environments. Go to My Computer Career and take the free career evaluation. You could start your new career in months, not years. Take classes online or on campus, and financial aid is available to qualified students, including the GI Bill. Now is the time. mycomputercareer.edu.
When you get nachos, tacos, empanadas, spicy queso with jalapenos, Pepto-Bismol's there. Pepto-Bismol provides fast, effective relief from nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea. All the things that can happen unexpectedly on vacation. So before you travel, pack the Pepto. Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Tax refund shock is everywhere. But what is it?
My tax refund shrank.
Mine too. The culprit? Pandemic-related stimulus payments and tax credits expiring. In this reporter's opinion, you need a tax expert.
Hey guys, Jackson Hewitt guarantees your biggest refund.
And tax prep is 50% off? Going there now.
50% off is a limited-time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM at HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app.